What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Fairway Forecast. I'm seeing Ajad. That's Justin Carlucci, otherwise known as Luch. And Luch, you had a lot of loot last week because you had Tom Kim on your Scottish Open card. I got to tell you, before you talk about that and victory lap it a little bit, I had Matt Fitzpatrick. I had a two-person card, very short odds. I had Rory McIlroy, Matt Fitzpatrick. After day two, I was thinking, all right, one of these guys is going to be in the running Sunday afternoon. Well, I was right kind of about Matt Fitzpatrick. He ends up, missing some 3-footers, some 4-footers, some 5-footers. Not sure it would have mattered the way Tom Kim was playing. We're going to get to the Open Championship. We're going to get to Corrales, but Luch, talk to me about Tom Kim.
Awesome stuff. I mean, hasn't won in over 1,000 days. I had to look it up. I was shocked to recall that he's only 24 years old. I mean, he's been playing on tour since he was in his late teens. And, suddenly Tom Kim squarely back on the map, just piping it right down the fairway. Every time he looked, he was hitting clutch shots, really good around the green. So that was a lot of fun. I also had a really interesting card going into the weekend. I had Chris Goddard up on the card. I had Wyndham Clark on the card. Only like 5 plays myself. And I actually had Goddard up left for one and done. And, I was thrilled with his ownership. And, we'll talk about some negative stigmas and negative narratives. People are just quickly to dismiss someone, it seems, who has won at a venue last year, let alone also winning in the previous week, which, I get it, from a mental standpoint, it could work both ways. But yeah, he did kind of fall apart, on Sunday, which was really disappointing. And so got to be honest with you, after, about 1.5 rounds, Tom Kim was, no disrespect to him, maybe the least likely of the three I was taking seriously for a Sunday afternoon run. And, lo and behold, he got it done. It was really cool to see. And I still think he's, spoiler alert, I think he's at a fantastic price again. He's a hot commodity in the DFS streets and whatnot as well, just maybe because of a blatant misprice, if you will. So really cool stuff from Tom Kim. The Scottish Open was a blast. And, we're staying overseas with the Open Championship again to hit our 4th and final major of the year.
Shout out to Alex, who's producing this show, who will inevitably come up on the screen probably relatively soon. It's interesting because both Clark and Goddard, who are Sunday finishers, both had terrible Sundays. And that's so golf, right? Like that's just going to happen even for the guys that we think it shouldn't happen to. As far as Tom Kim, so he didn't make my outright card, but it's not because, by the way, I was on him 2 weeks ago. And then he had a very unimpressive tournament, and then I was off of him. And it's not because you have one bad tournament, I'm off. There were just other guys I liked. And frankly, my betting card was structured. I never only have 2 people, but I did this time because they were both relatively short. I don't know that I would have gotten there on him because I was big on Goddard. I was big on Clark. I would have taken a shot at Rayton. I would have taken a shot at Alex Fitzpatrick. So I didn't end up losing out, but Tom Kim this week is so interesting because I think you're right, Luch. He's not getting the respect. And I don't have him as an outright, and we'll talk about the outrights I do have, but I do have him as a top 30 play. It's plus money. And I'm not saying that's like completely absurd, but plus 118, including ties as a top 30 on Tom Kim. It's not just like he just played well last week. I mean, he's been good for like 4 or 5 weeks in a row now. Well, not in a row, but like for the most part, over the last month and a half, we're seeing the Tom Kim we thought we were going to see 2-3 years ago.
Quietly picked up strokes putting now in 4 of his last 5, and I think that's huge as well. They kept talking on the broadcast about his technique and tucking that arm a little bit and whatnot. And hey, if it's working, it's working. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, or whatever they say. So yeah, he's been awesome to watch, and such a clutch shot on approach on 16, which was, playing super hard. That's kind of when I started to feel pretty good about it last week. But we were kind of on the same page. I liked Rayton. He was on my card too, really nice number. I thought the Scottish was just a home run fit for his game, right? With his length and really not, it was awesome. And, came up a little short, but another young golfer with a hell of a lot of upside who's been kind of, been put on the map as we kind of inch closer toward the end of the season. But yeah, Tom Kim, I'm going right back to him. And golf is so great and frustrating. Betting on it is also the same because you can make a case for whoever you want. There are so many things that someone chooses to believe in. There are a billion different statistics and angles and narrative and recent form and course fits and whatnot and tee times that, it's really awesome to talk to so many different intelligent people around the industry, and you can just learn so much from hearing different takes. And yeah, it can be information overload and you never really want to get sucked into group think, but there are so many angles every week, and it's just such a fascinating Open Championship. It's been a while since they've played here. And of course, rumor has, I think it's more than rumor has it, but the course looks dry. It looks like that ball's going to keep rolling and rolling and rolling this weekend. So there's a lot to think about. And, you got any macro look on the weather? It doesn't look like total carnage, right? It looks pretty typical.
Yeah, it looks pretty like tame for an Open Championship. I mean, I don't have the exact readings in front of me, but I think we're looking to like 10 to 20 miles per hour, and I don't think the gusts are going to be out of control. And frankly, when I say 10 to 20, I think the default's going to be closer to the middle point of those two. So it's not going to be some crazy test in terms of the weather. Now, the firm and fast part, that's going to be interesting. I'm really curious to see how round one goes, but I do think. And let's get into course fit for a second. I do think the players like Tom Kim, and this is typical of an Open Championship, but like you don't have to have length here. So I mean, the players that are like Colin Morikawa is a guy I like. We're going to talk about him later. Like these guys are very much in play. I guess my question for you is there a type of golfer you're looking for? Are there different profiles just based on recent form and who's hot and who's not? And how much are you emphasizing the around the green play in the short game, which can be quite random, but obviously this might be a place, the Open Championship's a place you typically look at it.
Definitely emphasizing it. I'm kind of taking a lot of things you mentioned into the stock that I'm buying this week in certain guys. Driving accuracy, I think is a big deal here. Obviously, long iron is going to see a lot of less than driver off the tee and things like that. And you hit it on the head. You don't have to be long here. Even if we didn't hear about how dry the course was playing, you really didn't have to be long. But I think that could be even more of a boost to those shorter guys. You mentioned Colin Morikawa. He didn't make my card, but I'm still kind of working on my single entry DFS lineup. And he's a guy who I would love to play at a, fairly low ownership, all things considered. He fits the bill for sure. One guy who speaking of around the green play, a guy who's just been fairly disappointing the last, 4 or 5 weeks without looking, who's normally nails around the green, short hitter, proven that he can contend at majors, really good betting number, hasn't been in great form. Any guesses what I'm alluding to yet?
No. Carry on.
Russell Henley.
I
know he hasn't been great in the wind at times, but like you said, it's not going to be completely brutal out there. And he's one of those guys who is such a course fit in my eyes that, if he pops off and makes a run at this thing on Sunday, I wouldn't be totally surprised. And I don't really have any Russell Henley exposure anywhere right now. But maybe if I see a decent round one out of him, I like betting matchups like post round one and maybe even post round two. I like just seeing, 18 to 36 holes on data and kind of see where we can go. So I'm kind of looking through, 3 balls and that stuff now, but Russell Henley and Morikawa are both guys who didn't really make any pre-tournament investments for me, but I'm definitely watching really closely.
Yeah, Russell Henley's a guy that everybody has biases, whether they admit it or not. And I'll never be like, oh, I don't bet this guy or this guy's a blacklist guy, because every situation is different. But it's so rare that you'll find Russell Henley on my betting card. And I don't know why. I don't have a good explanation. If you were talking to me 2 years ago, I would have said, because I don't think he can close against the competition that he's going to see these days. And he's proven me wrong now a couple of times. For his number's so long, and I can't get there with it. What is his number at this point? Like, did you bet him outright? What's the number you got?
No, I made no pre-tourney investment, but if I see, if I'm seeing some encouraging stuff round one, I'm going to be looking to kind of maybe look at a matchup prop in round two. I think he was like 40-45 to 1 or something like that. That sounds about right.
I'm actually looking at it. I'm looking at it now. It's 54 to 1 at DraftKings, which is kind of crazy. 50 to 1 in other places, 45 in others. Like the worst you're going to do is 45. I don't know what Lucky Rebel, maybe Alex can jump in and let us know what they have in that, but
they have it 50 to 1.
Yeah. So that's a really good number. I mean, part of me is like, well, that tells you something. And the other part of me is like, well, Russell Henley's kind of taught us this lesson a couple of times now.
Yeah. I didn't expect to open up with guys who didn't make my card, but it's a pretty cool exercise to just kind of talk about out loud. I'm a big each way guy too. Not every book offers that, but I'm looking at each way betting Russell Henley 50 to 1 with 5 places. 45 to 1 with 8 places. That's super encouraging. I mean, typically he's the guy who offers a nice floor on, courses that he seems to play well on. To each his own. Maybe lately that hasn't been the case, but kind of looking at that 8 places with 45 to 1 right now sticking out to me. We'll see where I end up.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I do like, so I've just started betting the each way market a little bit. I've always been like old school, like an American book style. And that's frankly, that's what most of the books that people that we're talking to, most of the people we're talking to are just using those books. So part of me always hesitates to like give out each way stuff. But then the other part of me is like, okay, now some of these books are being, more popularized, and it is a pretty good method to take those 5 places or 8 places. I just started doing that. I actually got paid on a ticket last week for somebody who, was in the top 8. And it's nice to see some of that money come back to your bankroll when you don't have an outright winner.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's one book which is pretty popular, and for the sake of me not knowing regulations and things I can and cannot say, I won't name the book right now, but yes, it's coming around a little bit more, which is nice to see. I had a similar experience the week before. I mean, I was all around the bullseye lately, so it was really fulfilling to see Tom Kim take one home for me. I had a 90 to 1 with 3 places on Max Homa, who came up 1 stroke short. Another guy who's talk about just really, kind of like Tom Kim, just really stringing together some good weeks, which has turned into like a month or 2 now. So really cool for Max Homa to kind of get back into a rhythm and things like that. So I'm with you. I've had some success in placements, and it's a nice little hedge, a nice little way to keep that bankroll kind of afloat. Some people strictly like betting outrights, and I've been getting more into matchups the last year and a half. They're just so much fun too. And you know exactly what you're rooting for if you want to follow a group. Especially early in the morning, right? It's nice if you're streaming on ESPN Plus or whatnot, and you get to follow your group around before everyone else wakes up is really cool.
My main source of I'll just call it income from golf betting is actually round matchups, not even tournament matchups, round matchups. I'll have a round matchup pretty much every day, a lot on Thursdays and Fridays. I even have one, I didn't give it to Alex, but I even have one I can give out on the show that unfortunately you can only get at one book. But I love round matchups. I think that is like, and a lot of people are starting to do the round scores and things of that nature, birdies, bogeys, all of that is in play. There's so much you can bet with golf. Speaking of, let's talk about some outrights here. I have 3. One of them is Matt Fitzpatrick, who I actually have a future on him at 30 to 1 that I made a few months ago. And I bet him at, I think, plus 2150. That's what it opened at some books. At most books now, it's either between 15 and 18 to 1. Quick thoughts on Matt Fitzpatrick. Has it come to a point for you where it's just not a bettable number, or did you actually take him?
Oh, I took him. And,
okay.
And so I'm totally on board with that. I feel like everyone has a model nowadays, so I hate to be that, nerdy guy saying, want to see my model, but in my model, he did grade out as the top play. And why not at this point? I mean, not to steal your thunder, but no matter how you slice it, this guy's arguably been the best golfer in the last couple of month, 2 months. I mean, it might not even be an argument at this point, and the course is a dynamite course fit for him as well. So yeah, I'm in on Matt Fitzpatrick. I actually have 2 guys under 20 to 1 on my outright and each way card, which usually I don't do just for the sake of trying to maximize your profits in that kind of market. But the other one is Tommy Fleetwood, which we'll get to momentarily. But talk to me more about Matt Fitzpatrick. How much conviction you got behind this one?
I mean, a lot. I've been betting him. Unfortunately, it hasn't been the best outright year for me. And I feel like I'm always on the guy like a week early or a week late. Tom Kim's a pretty good example just from last week. But Matt Fitzpatrick's a guy that I've been betting a lot this year, but I actually haven't caught the Matt Fitzpatrick wins. And so I'm just kind of riding it out. But the good news is it's not like a blind bet. It's like, all right, I'm looking at course fit. I'm looking at recent form. I'm looking at all of those things. And he happens to check those boxes every time. So I had him last week. I really thought, I didn't think he was going to win on Sunday, but I thought it was going to come down to the last few holes. I thought it was going to be him. There were so many guys towards the top. I thought it was going to be him and like 2 other guys. And it wasn't him and 2 other guys. It was Tom Kim, and it was kind of Min Woo Lee, and then it was not really Matt Fitzpatrick because he really just drifted, particularly on the back 9 when you thought maybe he was going to get some momentum. Didn't happen. But yeah, I mean, I think he's a great course fit. The metrics, short game, ball striking, flighting his ball, like all of those things, depending on the weather and the firm and fast greens. I feel like he, as I'm watching England score a goal, I don't know who's on England and who isn't over at BNN. I mean, I always have to worry about VAR, because I don't, I'm not a big soccer guy, but they're celebrating a goal right now. It didn't look like it was offsides, but 1-0, 54 minutes into the contest. But yeah, Matt Fitzpatrick is one of the, I mean, let me ask you this. Let's just assume, let's just talk about the best golfers in 2026.
Yep.
I mean, obviously Scotty's not winning a lot, but he's definitely like one of the best golfers in 2026. Oh, he's the best golfer, whatever. Although at this point for 2026, you can make the argument it's like 2 or 3 other people. But Scotty, Rory, who's the next name? Forget about stats. Just who's the next name that comes to mind? And this is stat driven. I just want you to go on feel here. Is it Goddard? Is it Wyndham Clark? Is it Matt Fitzpatrick? Who comes to mind next?
Matt Fitzpatrick.
It has to be Matt Fitzpatrick.
You're serving me a softball there. It's undoubtedly Matt Fitzpatrick. And man, I feel like that was such an anomaly back nine for him. I mean, I think 3 or 4 of those putts were 6 feet or less that he just choked away.
It was a 3-footer, a 3-footer, a 4-footer, and a 5-footer. All in the same round. And I think he missed a bunny the day before as well. The thing about Fitzpatrick that I've noticed this year, and maybe I'm just cherry picking, but when he starts to miss putts, he really gets in his head. I'm trying to remember the tournament where I had an outright on. It was recent. It was within the last month. Where he started to miss, a couple of putts, and you could just see his body language. Granted, that's every golfer, but for him, I felt like it was even more, and you started to see it with the following putts. Like he was just confused and he couldn't get back on track. When that happens to Matt Fitzpatrick, it just continues to happen, unfortunately.
There's 2 tournaments he lost strokes putting. I'm sure one of these is the one you were talking about. After the team event win at the Zurich, which was a moment where it's like, okay, him and his brother, mental high, awesome stuff. Maybe he's a little tired because, if we don't forget that Zurich Classic was a week after Matt won the RBC Heritage and 2 weeks after he won the Valspar with the Masters crammed in between there. So it could have been a little bit of fatigue too, both physically or mentally. At the Memorial, he lost a ton putting. 1 3/4 strokes. So that might have been it. And we're talking about a bad event for Matt Fitzpatrick, who lost almost 2 strokes putting. T36 is now a bad event for Matt Fitzpatrick in the year 2026. So dynamite, stuff. Approach game is always on the money. Coincidentally, last week was the first week that I'm seeing since the freaking winter that he lost strokes around the green, which is also an anomaly for him. And I love the play. I do think, if you were setting the odds, what would you price him at? I'd price him 750 to plus 800, right around the big boys, maybe 10-1. I think he's warranted at this point. So he was screaming value in my model. I wasn't surprised to see him grade out as the number 1 play for me, all things considered.
Yeah, I would probably set him around where he is currently, not at the 19 number. Some books still have him at 19, 18, but a lot of books just for the last couple of days, as I'm taking another quick glance, have him in that 15-1 range. And honestly, if you had him at plus 1200, I'd be like, I'm not betting that, but I kind of get it. And I don't know how low it would have to go for me not to bet Fitzpatrick. I think 15-1 would probably be my limit because at that point, I mean, this is a pretty talented field and you do have Scotty and Rory here and all the live guys. And we can talk about whether those guys matter this week in terms of outrights or not. But okay, so I have Fitz, you have Fitz.
I do.
Tommy Fleetwood is really interesting to me because, if you want to talk about odds, I'm sorry, but I don't get why. It's not that I don't get why you're on him, but I don't get why when you look at the odds board, he's about the same. In fact, as of right now, at all of the quote major books, he's about the same exact odds as Matt Fitzpatrick. And that, to me, and I get there's a hometown narrative and all of those things, but that is wildly off.
Yeah, it never pans out, obviously, as a 1-time tour winner and 0-time major winner. But I just think this might be his best course fit and opportunity win this year. And I'm not sure. I might disagree for those who say there's some added pressure with the hometown narrative. It's just speculation. When they played here in 2017, he shot an opening round 76. I'm thinking maybe he got those jitters out of the way. If you take the first round out of that tournament, he would have finished T7. And I get it, right? That's cherry picking, in the wise words of Mike Tomlin. I'm quoting Mike Tomlin, not me. If my aunt had male parts, she'd be my uncle. I get it. You just can't slice and dice, those things. but maybe he got that out of the way. I know one thing for sure. He's probably been thinking about coming back here for a long time. I know the odds aren't great, and he's just priced this way every week. He won on the DP World Tour in October, won the Tour Championship finally last August. So it's been a while since he's won, but it's just been a typical Tommy season. It's hard to really nitpick, like he's not playing poorly, and maybe it's a disservice to Patrick Cantlay because he's an 8-time Tour winner. I kind of just feel like, you're getting the guy with an incredible floor every week. So I totally get it. He's probably better suited for like a top 25 bet or a top 20 bet or whatever your book offers. But when I'm just thinking of a poster child for this tournament or like an absolute archetype, he's just consistently so damn accurate off the tee. His long irons are typically good. He's really good around the greens. So in a sense, I understand why he's, priced the way he is. And so I, unsurprisingly graded out 6th in my model, I think. So I'm combining all that stuff that I know with just maybe like a 20% gut feel here that I think the stars might be aligning for Tommy Fleetwood. And I guess I will balance that out because Matt, as maybe a contrarian take, because Matt Fitzpatrick is the public pick of the week, it seems. I mean, most tips, et cetera. Doesn't always feel great, but, you've learned to tune some of that stuff out, who everyone's on and whatnot. And you just can't argue Fitzpatrick checks nearly every box. And if he doesn't check every box, I'm not sure what box there is that Matt Fitzpatrick isn't checking. Tommy Fleetwood, obviously, you'd like to see a couple more wins under his resume. But, he's been very consistently good this year. It's not like he's playing, poorly. Does he have the ceiling to get there? We'll find out. We've seen weirder things happen in 2026.
Oh, that's for sure. We definitely have seen that. I think for me, it comes down to, would I rather bet Tommy Fleetwood at 17 to 20 to 1 at this point, or my next guy on my card, who's basically twice that, Colin Morikawa at 33, 34 to 1, that ballpark, versus Tommy Fleetwood at 17, 18 to 1. And for me, the answer is just going to be Colin Morikawa. So that's my second outright. I have 3 outrights. I sprinkled 2 long bombs, like 200 to 1. When I say sprinkled, I actually mean like $2, like 2 or 3, like fun bets, just so everybody knows those. Like I'm not really, I guess I can count those as outrights, but they're truly long shots. Jacob Bridgman, 210 to 1, or 200 to 1, and Bud Cauley, 210. I think those were the numbers on those 2 guys. But my primary outrights, of course, are Fitzpatrick. I'll get to the third one in a second. But Colin Morikawa at 33 to 1. I mean, Colin, before the players withdraw, was really good. Not just with his win at Pebble Beach. I mean, he I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I know at the API, he did really well. There was a tournament before Bay Hill where he was really, was it Augusta? I'm lost here, but I think we're talking about like a win and 3 like top 7s or better immediately after that. Then we have the players withdraw. And then miraculously, after that withdrawal where we thought his back was like going to be an issue and he'd keep withdrawing, he had a couple of great tournaments. Then it got kind of sketchy for him for a few tournaments in a row, but we started to see the form come back, and we've actually seen the finishing positions come back with the form. And by form, I mean great ball striking, really good putter as well. A third at the Travelers a couple weeks ago. I feel like this guy now has the confidence. I'm assuming he has the confidence with his injury at this point that he doesn't feel like it's a factor because we're so far removed from it. He's got a good top 5 finish at a signature event, and now he's coming into a place where, as far as Open Championships are concerned, I think it's a really good setup for him. A great ball striker, great long iron play, great middle iron play, great iron play in general. He's been hot with the putter. He's won an Open Championship before. Granted, that was some time ago. It was during COVID, different types of circumstances. But Colin Morikawa at this number seems off. I think if Colin Morikawa, Luch, was healthy this entire season, let's say he didn't win beyond Pebble Beach, but it was like he was top 5ing, top 10ing, maybe a 3rd place finish, like in the midst of like the players forward, he would be 22 to 1. And because maybe even less, by the way, maybe like plus 1850, I don't know. But because I'm assuming that those injuries are no longer a problem and that he's back into form, I feel like I'm getting like a 10 to 12 point discount on Colin Morikawa.
Couldn't agree more. And, the thing is with Morikawa, I don't know what the right word is I'm looking for, but when in his interviews and whenever he's discussing an injury or he doesn't feel right, I feel like he's very, I don't know if pessimistic is the right word, like about his own, what condition he's in or what shape he's in, or almost like laying out an excuse beforehand in case he plays poorly.
Yeah.
I hate that. But, that might even give you some more confidence to bet him because hasn't had any problems since. And he had that really elite stretch of golf that you were talking to, wasn't that long ago, March, April, where he had that, awesome stretch. And you're right. Super straight, super accurate. When his putting's on, he's damn good. He's good enough around the green, typically good enough. But again, the number makes up for any of those possible shortcomings that you might want to nitpick and stuff like that. Great number. And, I kind of feel sad that I don't have him on the card, but I'm around the industry. I'm seeing some pretty low DraftKings, DFS ownership on him. That might be my way to get some exposure to him. Pre-tournament. I mean, he's, I know we're talking DFS. You're going off the beaten path a little bit here, but he's 8,700 on DK. That's such like a recognizable name at a very affordable price where there's a ton of value to still be coming in at such a low projected ownership, just getting disrespected across the board. Forget Tom Kim. It might be Colin Morikawa that might be getting the biggest FU from the public so far this week. And he's really done nothing wrong.
I will say this. In ownership can be fickle. Like at this time of day, maybe it'll change. But in that 8K range, he is one of the more popular guys, it looks like. And again, your numbers might be different from mine. And I will tell you, my numbers aren't like my numbers. In other words, I'm looking at somebody else's, and they absolutely could be off. But I mean, he is getting some attention now, at least at that 8,700 price tag. I'm looking at the top of the board because I wanted to see where Scotty and I don't know where you have them at, but they're in a reasonable range. They're not the 30-40% that we sometimes see for one of these guys. We're looking in the low 20s, right? Is that what you see as well?
Yeah. And, a big price tag for Scotty, but what they like to do during these majors, some very affordable, 6K and 6K and less darts you can throw, which is, uncomfortable, but some of those guys are typically priced in the 7K range. So I definitely think, you could get to the top of the board if you wanted to. Just like slightly veering back to the 8K range. Yeah, I'm curious to see how it plays out because I've seen a lot of buzz about Goddard, rightfully so. A lot of buzz about Victor Hovland, very friendly price, which we'll talk about momentarily. Bobby Mack is a machine at Open Championships and golfing really well lately. So, and of course, you can't forget about Wyndham Clark. You can't mention the topic or question of who is the best golfer this season, behind the first couple of guys. And if I didn't say Matt Fitzpatrick, I probably would have said Wyndham Clark. Not sure if I love the course fit for Wyndham Clark, but after watching him scramble his rear end out of the weeds every shot at the US Open, I would be silly to count Wyndham Clark out.
So that's my third outright. Nice professional segue. 41-1. I mean, this number's actually drifted. It was 40-1 when I first checked. And now I'm seeing 41. So clearly he's not taking a ton of money. And I do think it's probably because probably not the best course fit for him. Because you talked about the short game, talk about the putter, which is obviously red hot for him, but he's not necessarily the ball striker. I think the cheat code though, for people like that is that these are firm and fast conditions. It's not like Wyndham Clark's going to be ripping driver, I'm sure he will from time to time, but a lot of these guys, even like the Brysons of the world, are going to be clubbing down a little bit. And if you're Wyndham Clark and you want to manage this course, you're going to club down and just try to make sure, it's not a guarantee, but try to make sure you're in the fairway and then take it from there. Because from there, if the approach play is even moderately on, the short game is the cheat code part of Wyndham Clark, where he is just so red hot with the putter. The around the green play is really good too. So the reason I love him is because I think on the front end of his play, and I'm talking about the ball striking, I think he just needs to take I'm managing this course. And then if he does that properly, I think the rest of the way he could really clean up. So I love this number. I think the number on him should probably be closer to 32-1, something in that Colin range, or even I wouldn't have been stunned if it was 28-1. I'm not sure I would have been in love with the number, but 41-1 is pretty disrespectful. You said it, Luch. If we're going to just talk about hot golfers, it's Matt Fitzpatrick, it's Chris Goddard, it's Wyndham Clark. And you can rearrange the order on those last two if you want, but those are the three hottest golfers in the world right now. I mean, I guess Rory, you could maybe add to that conversation. He's just not playing quite as much. All right, those are my three outrights. You've given us at least two. How about some more?
Yeah, I also have Victor Hovland, and he's catching some steam this week too. I took him 33 to 1 with 8 places. Like, I just feel like that is.
He's my one and done pick, by the way. So carry on.
Awesome. Yeah, I already burned him. Otherwise, I probably would strongly consider him. But I mean, yeah, he's been a bit Jekyll and Hyde when you zoom out from a 10,000-foot view with his play, but he's really rounded into form. And, his open track record is good. Understandably, not every course is the same. Obviously, the demands are quite different at a lot of these venues, despite some like overarching similarities. He had a T4 in 2022. He had 2 other top 15s. He actually graded out as the second best play in my model, which takes some odds into consideration. Which just take the odds into consideration. So I'm not surprised it's such a nice number. His approach game is typically rock solid. He throws darts at the flags. I just think this is just a tiny bit of a misprice. Love the way his game is rounding into form. Typically a pretty good putter. Is around the green gameplay. If you look at his numbers, 2025, about his like baseline here, kind of took a nosedive from 2024, but he's really, improved lately around the green and quietly has picked up strokes around the green in 5 of his last 6. So love Victor Hovland this week. I just think that range is loaded. You mentioned Morikawa, and kind of regret not having Morikawa in the card now that we're talking about it. But maybe we'll dive into some FRLs later, and maybe we'll have to sprinkle some more FRLs on the card and consider some Morikawa. But
I've got FRLs for both this tournament and Corrales, so we can actually love my FRLs for Corrales. So we're going to get to that in a few minutes. All right, Victor, I have as a one and done. Was very close to making the card. I mean, obviously, if I haven't one and done, I have confidence in it. I just went with the 3, but I mean, honestly, I could add in. What's interesting too is that you can still get a 34 to 1 at a major book on Victor. I don't know. Again, Alex, if you want to jump in and let us know what Lucky Rebel has him at, but the disparity now, I would say the quote major books have him anywhere between 25 and 34 to 1. That's a pretty big difference, 25 and 34. But there's also a book that is not in that quote major category, but is in that each way category. If you know what I mean, Luch, unless I'm seeing this incorrectly, they have Hovland at 18 to 1, which is wild. So let's just disregard that. But to be able to get a 34 to 1 on Victor Hovland right now, granted it's been bet down already a little bit, but that's still a pretty great number. I think that's great.
Proven winner, contender, multiple Ryder Cup guy, great form. He now has a win this year, and the Travelers a couple weeks ago. People love talking trends and narrowing the field down. This golfer's done this. We're looking for a golfer that has done this, and to a point, it is kind of silly, but it is fun nonetheless. But Hovland win under his belt, 3rd at the RBC. We've seen him contend in majors. Has that T4 at the Open in 2022. So love the price on Hovland. Love getting places on him as well around the industry. And just for time purposes, we did talk Tom Kim. I have him at the card on my card as well. 50 to 1, 8 places. Just feels like a misprice. I'm sure those who are tuning in have heard a lot of people talk about Tom Kim this week already. So, you don't have to say much more other than the form he's in, his irons around the green play, his putting's been good. Love Tom Kim at that number. I know I mentioned Tom Kim as well, and we'll probably touch on him a little bit later as well. And just my $2 sprinkle, if you will, is Akshay. I'm seeing 100 to 1 with 8 places. So for me, that's worth $2, $3.
Yeah, I agree.
He is just so intriguing. He's so young yet. He's been really good the last couple of weeks. Another guy who isn't really long, but I think he'll club down and be able to find some fairways. He's been plus accuracy the last 2 weeks. He's in really good form. A T5 at the Travelers, a T17 at the U.S. Open, a T13 at the Players. He won the Arnold Palm, 6th at Pebble Beach. So we're talking about big boy events here, where Akshay has been on TV on Sunday. That's all you have to know there. Typically a very, very, very good putter, very good around the greens. Just think this is a really good number. Another guy, just 24 years old, just like Tom Kim, who I feel like we've been talking about for much longer than that. And I just would not be, I'd be slightly surprised, but not shocked if we'd be talking about him the way we're talking about Tom Kim winning a big tournament relatively soon. Don't know if it's going to be this week, but I do think maybe he has a bullet in the chamber over the last month to kind of take something down and make some noise.
You know, the thing about Akshay that's so interesting from an outright and a DFS standpoint is he's so hit or miss, which is exactly what you want in both of those markets, right? And I think actually I'm looking at ownership. I think some people are paying attention to what you're talking about, Luch, because it's not like he's wildly owned, but in that 6K range. And again, the 6K range is rich, which goes to your point. You can play Scotty if you want. You can play Scotty with Fitz. You can play Scotty with Fleetwood and just duck down to this 6K range and get plenty of guys that are really good and have plenty of upside. Akshay is one of them at 6,600, getting some attention. I'm looking in this range. JJ Spawn, who I like, I have a top 30 on him as well at plus 138, I believe. He's getting some attention in that 6K range. Harris English, Tom Kim, of course, is getting a lot of attention in that 6K range. Let's see if there's anybody else. Ricky Fowler, for some reason, getting some moderate attention. And then I think maybe Rayton getting a little bit as well. But yeah, I love Akshay as a potential DFS play. Is that your entire outright card? Or are there anybody else on this?
That's
All
it.
Right. I love that card. And Victor Hovland is somebody that, I don't know, maybe unofficially, like it might not be officially on my card because this is like my last show that I've kind of already given out all the picks and stuff. But I may just kind of like tag along with you. I have him as a one and done anyway, so I may as well just throw like $15 on him to win, 500 and change or whatever it is. I like that pick quite a bit. So I gave out a couple of top 30s already. Do you have any finishing position plays or matchups that you have?
I don't. I just started digging into some matchups earlier this afternoon, and one guy, it just feels like a gross 3-ball matchup to look at. But Siwoo Kim, Brian Harman, and Nick Taylor. And Brian Harman at plus 190 is just staring at me in the face. And Siwoo Kim's been great this year too. But man, do I love a good Brian Harman at an Open Championship or like a links course. I mean, just a guy who's going to plot, hit the fairways, and get a bunch of roll this week. And we know he could play around the green, and we know he could putt. And he just might be one of those veterans that isn't a sexy pick and a guy that just won't go away at one of these courses that I do think maybe there's a little bit of value there. So do you have any takes on Brian Harman or Siwoo Kim? I mean, more people might be contemplating Siwoo Kim for certain, investments this week opposed to Brian Harman. But any thoughts on any of those guys?
So as far as the 3-ball, it's that one's tough for me. I would say I know Nick Taylor can shine. I think it would be between Brian Harman and Siwoo Kim. I actually think so. I'm never really on Siwoo Kim, but I actually think this is a pretty good course fit for at least a round or two where Siwoo could flash. I even considered him as one of my first round leaders. I noticed that we almost had, man, I'll tell you, Argentina's had like 3 or 4 great chances to score, and like all 3 of them could have gone in, like really good play, and they're just barely missing. Maybe it was offsides. Either way, Hovland is one of my first round leaders. I just want to mention because Alex put that up there. Siwoo Kim was almost a first round leader. I only have 3. It's Hovland. It's Justin Rose. Hovland's, by the way, 45-1. Justin Rose at 50-1, as Alex is putting on the lower third here. And Alex Fitzpatrick at 75-1. I think you can catch an 80 on Alex Fitzpatrick, actually. It's a pretty modest first-round leader card. Normally, I'll have 4 or 5, but I have 6 over at Corrales, which I'll mention later on. So I only have 3 here. But Siwoo Kim almost made it because I just feel like if this course plays like firm and fast and it's a ball strikers course, boy, Siwoo can pop for, like, I don't expect him to win, but I could see him popping. So if anything, that would just be a stay away for me, but it would be between Siwoo and Brian Harman. My matchup, I have a round 1 matchup, but it's only at places that do the 3-ball matchup stuff where you get to isolate a 1 versus 1, even though it's a 3-ball. And it's Johnny Kiefer minus 118 over Pearson Coody. Kiefer was great last week. Coody missed the cut, but Kiefer's been a great ball striker in general. Like, especially over the last month, Kiefer's been really good. So I like that as a round 1. Again, it's under the 3-ball matchup terminology. The tournament matchup I like, though, let's go back to Wyndham Clark. Minus 112 over Ludwig Oberg. I get that Ludwig's really good. I get that he shares the upside that Wyndham Clark has, but he doesn't have the outs that Wyndham Clark does in terms of the short game, and he's been very inconsistent, and Wyndham Clark's just a way hotter golfer than him and almost everybody else on tour. So I was a little surprised that they were both minus 112. I would have expected Clark to be like, I don't know, minus 120, maybe not minus 125, but something where he's a clear favorite, maybe a minus 118 like that Kiefer play. What are your thoughts on the Wyndham Clark tournament matchup?
I like it. And, I mentioned earlier that Clark might not fit the exact bill of the type of golf you're looking at, but there are ways that he can work around, to stay in the fairway, I guess. There's ways he can make it happen this weekend. Man, Oberg, I don't love his game right now. So I like Clark, and boy, that's a great outright number you have on him too. I mean, one of the hottest golfers on the planet right now. And maybe that will stick throughout the rest of the season. I will say this before I forget, you mentioned two other guys who I'd love for you to elaborate a little bit on more. Love that Alex Fitzpatrick number you have.
Yeah.
I mean, boy, you want to talk about recent form? Let's throw away the Scottish. It happens. But, I mean, He's been unbelievable since the team win at the Zurich. And, he did play in an Open Championship in 23, finished T17. Now, he had a big-time spike putting week. But it's nice to know that is in his range of outcomes, even though it might not be the likeliest, but he is capable of a spike putting week. And if you look at his recent form since he's earned his card, he's been awesome on approach. He's been awesome off the tee. He's generally very accurate. That's a fantastic number. I might have to ride with you on that one.
Just looking at the metrics, like if you didn't know Alex Fitzpatrick was new to the PGA Tour in terms of getting his card, and if you didn't know that, like, he was like, a guy that allegedly rode the coattails of his brother at the Zurich to get that win, and you just looked at what he's done since the Zurich, and you didn't have the name next to him, you'd be like, oh, that's somebody like Wyndham Clark or Colin Morikawa or somebody like that, like somebody maybe just one small level below those guys, because the metrics are absurd. And when you look at the play, like sometimes it's not all about metrics. You kind of have to watch the golfer and like see what's actually happening. And this guy has a ton of confidence. I don't think this guy thinks he's like not fitting in on the PGA Tour. I mean, it's pretty clear he thinks he can hang with these guys. And also, the Scottish Open was a bit of a surprise, to be honest, but I didn't have him as an outright, but I did have him in a finishing position play. I had him and his brother as both. I had Fitz as a top 10, and I think I had Alex as a top 20. I cashed the Matt one. I missed the Alex one, but he's been just as good as Matt in a lot of these tournaments. So I don't mind him as an outright, although I don't know that he gets there. But yeah, first round leader. By the way, he's played an Open Championship before. It was in 2023. Yes. Granted, different course, all that, but like he was top 20, T17. Right. So like he could even do it then. I think he can do it now.
Right. That's a tournament. He had a spike putting week, but again, he was great on approach in that tournament. And I think he gained strokes around the green too. So it's just nice to know that he can have a monster putting week, which could really, help set himself apart. But you made a good point. I love playing that game. It's like blindfold yourself or cross out both names and look at these numbers and you tell me who's who. And Fitzpatrick, played overseas for how, this is like his game. You want to talk about course fit? I mean, he's just used to playing under these circumstances, these types of setups. So I really, really like that one as well. And boy, that team event, although they won, there was a lot of adversity there. Him and his brother kind of borderline ready to fall apart, like every hole on the back nine there. And they got through it. And it was a tough watch from that point of view. But it was cool to see them come out on top. And you kind of felt it was palpable, the collective sigh coming through your TV screen from those two when it was over.
Well, the bunker shot from Matt Fitzpatrick, which kind of saved it, I think it was on the final hole or the second to last hole. Oh, it had to have been the final hole, I think, was like a really impressive bunker shot. And I think that's the lasting memory of like how they did in the tournament. But it wasn't just a Matt Fitzpatrick contribution situation at the Zurich. Like Alex Fitzpatrick, even in that round, hit some incredibly clutch shots that Matt Fitzpatrick was not coming through with. So yeah, he's super solid. I think he's going to be big time on this. I'm not saying he's Scotty Scheffler or anything, but I think he's going to be big time on the PGA Tour for years to come. So real quick before I forget, because we're talking first round leaders, and then I want to. Kevin Gaines has something from Twitter. Make the cut parlay. So I want to see if you like all these guys, who you think might miss the cut in that plus 980 parlay. But over in Corrales, I have 6 first round leaders, all between 55 and 110 to 1. Kevin Yu, who I also have as an outright. Thomas Rosenmueller, by the way, 55 to 1, 60 to 1, who I also have as an outright. Chan Kim, 60 to 1. That's probably my favorite first round leader play. Alejandro Del Rey at 60 to 1, Ventura at 60 to 1, and Davis Chatfield at 110 to 1. So just so everybody knows, I've got 3 for the Open, and I've got 6, kind of like 5 in a bomb for the with Chatfield for the Corrales. Let's answer this Kevin Gaines question.
Okay.
He says, I have a make the cut parlay at plus 980. A lot of people have that this week because at majors, there's usually a boost, right? So Xander, Scotty, Matt Fitzpatrick, Colin Morikawa, Rory, Goddard, Burns, Justin Rose, Aaron Rai, Oberg. Okay, so my immediate thought is you have too many people in there, but that's what people do with make the cut parlay. So I get it because it's not that high of a leap to say like all these guys are going to make the cut. It's not like it's a top 30, top 40 situation. But who are the first maybe two names that come to mind that scare you in this make the cut parlay?
Well, it's tough. I want to say Aaron Rai is a guy whose game, this should be good for him because he's so accurate. And if he's going to get a lot of roll, he should be fine. Obviously won a big tournament this year and has some really big finishes. So I guess just like from an odds standpoint, it's him, in terms of betting odds. But Oberg has been so odd lately, a couple of bad weeks. His approach play is generally dynamite. I guess for me, it's probably Oberg. And I say that just because, obviously Xander missed the cut last week too. He's usually a machine in majors. Morikawa, I love not almost as much as you do this week. I guess it's Aaron Rai, but I don't have a problem with any of those golfers. I see some celebrating in the
Argentina scored.
Oh,
I mean, Argentina's been on the cusp of scoring for like the last 30 minutes of play, and England's like done nothing. So this is a very well-earned goal for them. So it's 1-1 with 5 minutes left in just like regulation time or whatever. So extra time's coming. As we see, Beast McNee's about to come on to the show. He's dancing, loves the Argentina goal, apparently. Oh, man, this goalie's been dynamite, but there was no way he was getting to this ball. Let's go to my take on this parlay. I think the guy who could ruin it, obviously several guys could ruin it, but the guy that I would maybe take out to get just a smaller number but feel a little bit more comfort, I mean, there's a lot of guys that have a lot of like low floor, high ceiling situations. I think Oberg is one of them potentially, but Justin Rose is certainly one of them. I think Goddard has a lower floor than people think. And Xander, I don't know. I just don't like anything Xander right now. But if I was going to take somebody out of that, I'd probably leave Aaron Rai in. Believe it or not, I would take Oberg out because from an odds standpoint, like Aaron Rai is propping up your odds quite a bit because he's the lowest on that board. So if you take Oberg out, it's that the number's not going to come down a ton. Whereas if you take Aaron Rai out, all of a sudden the number's going to come down somewhat dramatically. So I would probably take out Oberg. Maybe I'd consider Burns, or Rose, but I'd take Oberg out and ride it, even though I think Oberg's probably going to make the cut.
Yeah, cut parlays just aren't for me. I'd much rather find like 2 3-ball matchups I like and parlay them together. Then you're just banking on 2 outcomes and probably getting like 6 or 7 to 1. It might not be pushing 1,000. But there are 2 guys on here that I mean, we can't go through a show without at least talking a little bit more about Rory McIlroy, which I will ask you about. But before that, you did mention Justin Rose. And boy, do I want to see that documentary that I've heard about online this week that he came out with. And boy, if there are some guys that are model darlings who just continuously pop in people's models throughout the years, I think of a couple of years ago as Emiliano Grillo, because of his approach play and things like that. Justin Rose never pops in models. And he just puts on in signature events and majors. And boy, I just keep going back to the Masters last year and that epic duel with Rory. And Rose keeps bringing it. And he is another one who I'm debating on playing in DFS. I kind of think that 9K range will be slightly neglected because of all the value you can get to in the low to 8K range. I really considered Justin Rose in one and done because I still have him left. Didn't go with him. But I wouldn't say that I'm not thinking about it yet. So talk to me about Justin Rose. What are your thoughts on him just over the last 2 years and his performances in big majors? And what do you think about him this week? Can he get it done?
Big game hunter. So it's funny, right before the show went live, I put out a basically like, the songs by Seal, Kiss from a Rose, of course. I put out a Kiss from a Rose parlay, and Rose isn't even on my card, but the parlay it was an outright parlay. It was Rose in the without market. So I'm taking out the big 5, whatever that without market has. People have it across the books. And then Thomas Rosenmuller over at Corrales. And $2 pays like $3,500. It's ridiculous. I'm just having fun here, right? But like, I did that for a reason, because I think Thomas Rosenmuller has some upside, especially with his recent form at Corrales, but also Justin Rose is absolutely a big game hunter. So you talked about the last couple of years. Let's go back to 2024, just his majors. Masters, I'll include everything just so you have a good sample size. Masters, you missed the cut. I'm going back to 2024, okay? T6 at the PGA Championship, missed cut at the US Open, T2 at the Open, and then a second the following year in 2025, a second alone at the Masters, then a cut, Open Championship last year, T16, Masters this year, T3, PGA Championship this year, T10, US Open this year, T11. I mean, that's impressive. Unless you're Scotty Scheffler or maybe Rory, like, that's really, really impressive stuff. And a lot of people like him this week, and you never know where he's going to jump out. But once he starts showing the upside, he usually doesn't let it go. He's usually like good for that top 10. And if you're good for that top 10, it probably means there's a good chance you're in the conversation on Sunday and that you might top 5 or win the thing. So I don't have a problem with Justin Rose at all. He's one of my first round leaders, but he could have easily made my outright card.
It's nice backing a longtime veteran when you're going into a Sunday. There's a ton of great young talent in golf, but if you have a guy in your card like Justin Rose going into Sunday who's been through the war and back, you have to feel pretty damn good about it. So I'm glad we talked about him. I love that call on him as well. And lastly, Rory, do you have any concerns, hesitations about Rory? I mean, lost strokes on approach the last 2 weeks. Wasn't egregiously bad, but you kind of could see that with the eye test too. He was a wizard around the greens, and he had that crazy bunker shot in the Scottish that went viral. Whether or not that was, doctored to the exact coordinate on that green, or if it was almost a really, really bad accident. Either way, it was awesome. I'm not sure which one it was, but Rory was really good around the greens, at least the first couple of days of the tournament. The iron play was visibly not there, especially for all 4 rounds. So just your Rory McIlroy take, obviously, is going to be super popular, and I would not be surprised at all if he just got his collective shit together and went out there and played really well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. He has the upside. I had him last week. Round 3 really did him in. I mean, honestly, I don't want to say he would have won the tournament because Tom Kim was like kind of too good. But the flip side of that is if Rory didn't have that bad day 3, Tom Kim would have felt a lot more pressure, not just from Fitzpatrick and Minwoo Lee and whoever was chasing him. Did Argentina just score again? Yeah, Argentina's going to win this game. They just scored again.
What?
Yeah, they listen, they earned this win. I mean, I'm not a soccer savant. Like, I barely have bet this World Cup, but just watching this through here and there while we're doing this show. Yeah, they're up 2-1. There's 8 minutes left or 7 minutes left in extra time. Yeah, Rory could win. I'm not going to bet him at these odds. Round 3 was like really troubling, but I don't expect that from him. I think he's going to have 4 very good rounds. It's just not somebody that I want to bet. I already never bet Rory, and I bet him last week at a short number. I thought it was a reasonable number at 10-1, but a short number nonetheless. And it really limited my card. And I wasn't going to do that this week. But is he going to play well? I think he is. I think he's going to have a good tournament. I think if he finishes somewhere between 4 and 10, that's probably where I see it. But if he wins, wouldn't shock me.
Agreed. I can't get to him at that number either, especially with how much, a lot of people like Matt Fitzpatrick at that number. Sometimes there's good chalk, ladies and gentlemen. And I think Fitzpatrick is one of those cases this week for sure.
Let's go to Gimme No Gimme. Alex, we have about 5 minutes left in the show, and I think you have a Gimme No Gimme for us.
Of course I have Gimme No Gimme. What's a fairway forecast without Gimme No Gimme, boys?
That's what I'm saying.
All right. So for those who don't know, it's kind of hot takes. I'm going to give you a hot take, one golf related, one non-golf related. And it's a play on the gimme putts. Is it a gimme? Is it a no gimme? So the first one I got for y'all, it's going to be golf related, something I do personally, but putting with a glove on should be normalized. Now, am I too lazy to take the glove off? Is it something that I just do because I feel like it? Yes. Do I know people who do it as well? Yes. And if you have a problem with it, cool. But I think it should be more normalized in the golf sphere.
Luch, you want to go first? Gimme or no gimme?
Man, it sucks when I can't talk my way out of something and I objectively have to take a side on it. You know what, Alex? I like you. I'll go gimme. And I think Aaron Rye helped put you on the map because that man uses 2 gloves when he plays golf anyway. But yeah, you know what? If you're playing in the heat and it's 100 degrees and, maybe you had a couple drinks, just a little more effort, just I'm with you. You can leave that bad boy on, and always good to get on the right side of my producer, right? So I'll go gimme for you.
I'm going to go gimme as well. I think you can kind of do whatever you want. Whatever makes you comfortable putting is what you should do, as long as it's within the rules. All right, how about the non-golf one?
All right, we talked about this on Twitter a bit, and Luch, you're going to have to defend yourself on this one because I know where Sia stands. But using the restroom on an airplane is childish. If it's anything less than a 5-hour flight, what are we doing?
I'll say,
unless you're flying private or you have an aisle seat, just don't go. Just hold it.
So I'm going to go first, Luch. We've talked about this before on No Plays Off, another show on Betting News Network. And in 5 hours is a little extreme. And obviously there are people that have to, they have conditions or whatever. But I would say if it's 3.5 hours or less, you have to plan to not go. Honestly, even if you're in an aisle, I would do that. But if you're in an aisle, it's okay. It's very much acceptable. You're really not putting anybody out. But if you know you're going to be in a middle seat or a window seat, and you're going to get up on a 2.5 hour flight, that poor planning to me is just evidence of just being rude. Yes. You just don't respect other people's, whatever they're trying to do on a plane. You're going to interrupt it because you're a poor planner. Luch, I'm totally wrong, aren't I?
No, there has to be context behind that one. So everything you said, I'm with, right? If you're obnoxious enough, to hydrate yourself, let's say, way too much at the airport and you don't have an aisle seat, then yes, that's bullshit. However, there are people that, for one reason or another, a medical condition, age. I mean, hell, I'm in my 30s, and if I have a couple of beers, there's a big difference in as many times I need to use the restroom as there were 10 years ago. Big difference. So no, I agree with your takes, but there needs to be context behind it as well. But don't even get me started about the people who just stand up that don't have a connection. Like if you're connecting flights, I understand it. But
hey, listen, we can talk about airplanes. We can talk about airplanes all day. So this is some psycho behavior. I need to get your opinion. We got to we're going to leave in 2 minutes or less. But so I was flying back from Fort Lauderdale just a few days ago. And it wasn't a late night flight, but it was later. We took off around, 7:30, and it's a 2.5 hour flight. Anyway, long story short, it was one of the first times ever, and it was kind of my fault. I didn't have a window seat. I always go for the window. I never get up. It's very easy for me to lean that way and not be close to the person next to me. Okay. So because I'm in a window, I don't have control of the actual window cover. Now, the window covers were down, which is totally fine, whatever. But as we were descending, it occurred to me that the people to my left and the people to my right weren't raising the cover to see where we were before landing. And for me, because I'm so used to being in the window, I'm always raising it because I want to kind of know where we are when we're going to land. I thought it was total psycho behavior that they didn't care at all to raise the thing to see where they were at. Am I crazy?
No. And boy, we could do another show on just airplane etiquette or public decency. I'm not perfect, trust me, but it's amazing how many people have zero decency or common sense. And whether it's poor planning, using the bathrooms or not doing the right thing with the window shade, I agree. And it depends on a million different things. How long is the flight? Is there, are many people connecting after the flight? What time of day it is? Who you're sitting next to, right? The kind of, you got to do a little, I guess, judging a book by its cover, but you can get a feel for who's sitting next to you typically, I guess. So, no, I think everything we've said is valid today, boys. I'm on board.
Alex, raising the window shade prior to landing, gimme or no gimme?
Gimme, do it. Always. I will have that thing open majority of the flight if it is
100%. But especially I'm actually concerned if I'm at the window for the person to my right, because I feel like they're going to want to see it. So even if I don't want it up, I'll at least creep it up a little bit. It doesn't have to go up the whole way so that people can see that. I mean, and by the way, the person in the middle seat and the window seat were together. It was a mom and a daughter, and they got there before I did. So they were using the the like outlet to charge their stuff, which I didn't need it, by the way. My stuff was fully charged because I prepared before a flight, ladies and gentlemen. But here's the thing. She didn't even ask me if I needed it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, use it. But then like at some point be like, hey, I'm only going to need this for like 30 minutes or an hour and you can use it after I'm done. Like I didn't exist. Like little things like that are like super important just in general in life. And like so many people don't have the conscientiousness to cover that.
It takes 2 seconds. Takes 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
If you're sitting next to one for 5 hours, at least give them the head nod, the up or down, you pick, whatever it is. So at least you've acknowledged each other's existence. So when there needs to be some form of communication, whether you need to go to the bathroom or you need a drink or you want those freaking pretzels from the cart or whatever, like there needs to be at least some open-ended channel of communication.
Quick hello. But we have to do a quick goodbye because we have people waiting to do it. But Alex, what's the show coming up? Betspresso?
Afternoon Betspresso, baby. Got PJV and Boostman down there. Boostman's hyped about Argentina, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. This game's almost over, and Argentina's definitely going to win at this point. I mean, incredible stuff from Argentina.
Crazy miracle.
All right, Luch, we got to close the show here. So we're out of here. Have a good Open Championship. Have a good Corrales. And Alex, what do we do now? We got to go, right?
Yeah. See you, boys.
Enjoy the golf. See you later, everybody.
That's a good one, Pete.
One-on-one, bitch, they 10. One-on-one, never again. One-on-one. When get the kick in the butter, I kinda like hustle the money all in. Rhyme the town in the drop top coupe in the motor in the trunk, you can hear it. And all about how they want me to lose, but I'm W, due for a win. Fucking this bitch in the OG, I'm having this snow bunny pull up her legs. Fight for my dummy, you don't see how I'm coming, don't tip me, I'm right on the edge. Guinness is young and I been had to shoot out some money all under my bed. 2018 came a million, I made it career, niggas thought it'd be dead. Hot getting cold, my body cold, I took a little X. I hit her one time, told her pull up again, making a little pussy stretch. Give me some head in the back of the band, grip in the back of the neck. I wanna put mirror 10 on the tent, I wanna see the reflection. I'm the best dressed at the Met. The way her dress, I know how to dress. Turn the drill to a flex. Bitch, stick at the check, I poke out my chest. I'm treating little bull like my pets. I let the bitch use me for sex. I know they young one of the catch. Got one-on-one ice on the jet. One-on-one, bitch, they 10. One-on-one, never again. One-on-one. When get the kick in the butter, I kinda like hustle the money all in.
All right, hey, hi.
All right, the boys are locked in, obviously, on this World Cup.
I'm not taking my eyes off this television.
Adam's desperate here for a little Jude magic. I know. Chad, how are we doing? Adam, don't worry. I got it.
You can't kill Argentina. You just can't do it. Is this thing over?
It's over.
It's over. Argentina 2-1 over England. You want to talk about a flair for the dramatic again, by the way. We saw it against Senegal. We saw it against Egypt. We see it again here today, obviously. Just to go back real quick, PJ's here, V's here, Koth, hey, how are you? To go back through this, all right, so listen, England, there's no scoring through the opening half. There were like 2 shots on target, maybe. I don't even remember if there were that. And everybody is thinking, oh my God, what about my over 2.5? Oh my God, what about my both teams to score? What about this shootout that we all thought we were going to get? I was looking at articles, guys, reading prediction after prediction, and it's regardless. There wasn't, even though more people were on England to advance, it wasn't consensus. There were plenty of people that had Argentina today. But what I was seeing was goals. It's going to be 2-1. It's going to be 3-2. It's going to be 4-3. That's right. I saw people predicting 7 goals for this match. It was absolutely obscene. So we go to the break scoreless, and it's, what the hell is this? This is exactly why Americans are going to stop watching soccer as soon as the tournament ends. This is embarrassing. This is park your bus for 90-plus minutes in stoppage time. This is awful. Nobody wants to watch this. This is that MLB All-Star game on steroids. This is so not entertaining. And so then England, finally, as I'm driving to the transfer station to unload a whole lot of crap, apparently we unloaded the dump's worth of what this first part of the game looked like, because we see England get on the board in the 55th minute. It's Anthony Gordon. Now, I would be a richer man if Jude Bellingham had a role in that goal. Sadly, that did not come to fruition. And then it's just kill, 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 until finally, in the 85th minute, off a beautiful pass from Lionel Messi, we get Enzo Fernandez evens the game. We go to stoppage time, and then Argentina puts one off the post. So close. Karim's out, though, and the England players, and maybe this is just my opinion, but to the eye, it looked like for a hot second, they were so stunned, either that it went off the post or that it didn't go in, that they froze. They froze just long enough on the pitch for the Karim to come out to the right side. Messi chases along the wing, comes up with it, just feeds it to the middle of the field, and a gorgeous header 2 minutes into stoppage time by Martinez. And Argentina hangs on from there for a 2-1 win, setting up a World Cup final as written by the soccer gods against Spain. After Spain took care of France, which not the way I wanted that to go. I wanted Mbappe to advance, but now we have Messi, who didn't, for the second straight game, by the way, didn't score, but multiple gigantic assists, further emphasizing, further proving, further showcasing his status as the one and only GOAT. And now, one match away from finishing a second straight World Cup championship. I mean, how do you not ride off into the sunset with that? PJ, let's start with you, and then V, obviously your thoughts as well.
I'm so sick. This just disgusts me. As a Ravens fan, this is like watching the fucking Chiefs all over again with this devil magic bull crap. I mean, I feel so bad for England. It really is like we're watching the 2024 Chiefs, how they just continue to find ways to win all these games. You got to tip your cap. I mean, they are tough to kill, man. And it's tough. It's the aura of Messi. It's the aura of Argentina. And how they just flip this gear where they're trailing and instead of panicking, they just press and they just put all the you could just see it coming, the avalanche of chances. How many teams would have hit the pipe twice and still found a way to win that game? Not many. It's unbelievable. One of my best friends is a big England fan, and he texted me like seconds ago and said he's so mad at the manager of England, Thomas Tuchel, because he took out 2 midfielders in the 70th minute to put in 2 defenders when they were controlling the game. They were up 1-0. And it's that old adage of like, you're trying not to lose instead of trying to win. And when you're playing Argentina, you have to try to win. You can't try to control a 1-0 lead. And we've seen it with all these teams, man. We saw it with Egypt, especially when they were up 2-0. And instead of just continue to play, they're just trying to hang on for dear life. So congrats to Messi and Argentina for making it back to the final, boys. But I really think Spain's going to smoke them, if I'm being honest with you. Like, I think it could be 3-0. I kind of think
we'll get there. We'll get to our preview. But V, what did you think from this one?
I think exactly what you guys said. You could see it in that last probably minute and a half. Even the announcers were very well aware. They made it clear that England wants this to go to extra time. They want to get that break. They need a breather. They need to regroup after what's been going on. And Argentina wants to end this right now. They want to continue to press. And like you said, Adam, it literally looked like England froze as soon as that ball hit the post. Even the Argentinian player froze. He was standing there like, there's no way. I just hit the post twice in like the last 15 minutes. How is this happening? Everyone's frozen on the pitch except the one guy with his eye on the ball, the one guy who crosses it into the box, and the guy comes in just fully unchecked by himself for an easy header in the back of the net. It's honestly really unfortunate because I know that like a ton of English fans everywhere are probably heartbroken coming this close with this squad, with how good they really fucking are this year. I just think that Messi, and it's going to be an insane final. Obviously, we're not just the fact that we have the best player in soccer at his age, at 38, 39 years old now. And then we have a 19-year-old phenom who is now going from the Euro Cup to the World Cup and again made it to the final. It's just an insane thing to see across the sport and a ton of fun. PJ, I'm sorry to watch. I know you had not just some units, but obviously you wanted to see the English take the win there, but my God, what a performance by Messi.
No, listen, I will stand on ground that this is the best outcome that we could have gotten from this individual match. You know, feel how you want to feel about France, Spain. Again, I was rooting for France. I just am more entertained by the France attack than I am by the Spain, you know, bleed you dry defense that has only allowed one goal across, I think, 7 matches in this whole tournament. But as the soccer casual that I admittedly am, this was phenomenal to get Argentina advancing here, because England, and look, I have no take on the geopolitical rivalry between these two countries and all that has happened off the pitch. I'm talking purely football, right? I'm talking just soccer. England is so boring to watch, so incredibly boring to watch. Kane, among superstars, I'm not going to, you know, diminish Kane and say like, oh, he's not good or anything like that. There's just no flash to his game. He is not an interesting, fun watch. He's, you know, there's a lot of precision. He's obviously, you know, their captain and one of their best players. Bellingham, you know, with Jude, you get a lot more kind of sizzle, if you will. But again, to the American audience, to people that are just sort of parachuting into this thing, and I fit that category, guys. Like my kids, they watch, you know, Champions League and Premier League and all of these guys playing on their other teams, and they know everybody out there. I don't. And so I'm just hopping in and enjoying the ride over the last 100+ matches that we have gotten. And for me, this Argentina team, and I know I'm so effing tired of the slow starts that we have gotten over the previous few matches, but my God, the flair for the dramatic, as I said before, and the way that they just rebound when they absolutely, like, you get to the 80th minute and it's like somebody gets in the earpiece and reminds Argentina, hey guys, the game started. You can play now. And then over the course of the next 15 to 20 minutes, it's all chances, it's all attack, it's all nuclear. And Messi, I mean, this dude, I don't need to tell anyone everything they already know. There's a reason that he is the basically consensus GOAT, and not just modern day GOAT by all soccer standards that you could possibly classify. But what stuns me, what amazes me match to match, is that he's still that guy. Even pushing 40, he's playing looking like he's 30. I want to watch him keep going. I didn't want to, and I didn't have a dog in the fight in terms of, like, I didn't just cash a futures ticket. I didn't have Argentina to get to this point or something like that. I think I had them in the, you know, in the quarterfinals, a parlay with them in Spain. And so that hit, and that was nice pre-tournament. But in terms of this, and I didn't even, you know, in fact, I had a parlay, you know, I didn't have much on it, so I don't care that it didn't cash. The bigger bets cashed, and that's what I care about. Thank God, because of the late game heroics, you know, to get the both teams to score and the over 2.5. But I had a smaller parlay that had England advancing. I would, if we had gone to extra time just for my wallet, I would have been cheering for that. But independent of that, Argentina is just so much more fun to watch. And Messi is still, even at his advanced athlete age, so fun to watch. With what he sets up, what he creates, what he makes happen out there. I want it again. I want to see it again in a couple of days. I'm eager to see it against Spain. And PJ, back to your point, does Spain wax them? Maybe. You know, I'd be shocked if we get 3-0. I think it's probably going to be close and low scoring. Wouldn't surprise me in the least if it looks a little something like this. Hell, you know, we could live on the darkest timeline and get the worst outcome, and it's Spain winning 1-0, and it's just a boring park the bus kind of final. But I hope not. I hope we get both teams showing up, and if we get another 2-1 that ends in regulation, doesn't go to extra time and PKs and whatever, fine. But I hope once again we see both teams get a chance to celebrate. We see both countries get on the board, find the back of the net, and then whoever wins, wins. You know, Spain was among the favorites coming into this thing for a reason, was a pre-tournament favorite for that matter, before France unseated them along the way, really only because of the Cape Verde situation that happened all the way back in their very first match in group play. I am excited. I wasn't really thinking I would be this excited after this match, but now I'm really pumped, V, about this World Cup final. And I think it's because it's Argentina. I don't think I would feel the same way if it were England. I think you would get two incredibly boring teams going head to head, and it's like watching paint dry for roughly 100 minutes.
I saw somebody tweet this earlier today, and it's like, if England wins this game, the final is going to be a very gritty, boring game in which Spain wins 1-0. If Argentina wins this, the Argentinian players only know two things. One is Messi, the second is God. So they will leave it all out on the line come the final. And I think that's going to be interesting to see against this Spaniard attack. Because like you said, they control the ball. They've given up one goal. They just do everything they can to maintain possession. They made France look like a B-rated squad with the way they were controlling the ball at points in that one, not letting France touch the ball for an entire minute at times. That second goal of theirs was just clinical. I do think that the Spain team is very confident. I do think they have what it takes, and I'm very excited for the final too. I think it's going to be an insane matchup, both with the superstars, both with these two powerhouse teams, and just with so much on the line. I think both countries too are going to be just absolutely going insane for the next few days as we lead up into this final here. And then I think the 3-4 match, that's going to be fun too. Now, who knows who's going to play, but the English versus the French, come on. The historical context there, that's got to be at least a little bit of fun, right?
But for the record though, PJ, I think just for pure entertainment purposes, France screwed us. Because if we had a France-Argentina seemingly high-scoring final, and then your third place game, your runner-up game, were Spain-England, and that's the boring nobody's going to score match, that would for the American audience and growing the game, that's what FIFA should have been rooting for. And obviously Mbappe and company just didn't show up.
Oh no, I mean especially when you consider the fact too that they played in the final 4 years ago, and it was like one of the greatest games ever. It was back and forth. It was 3-3. It ended in penalty kick. So to get the rematch, that would have been good. I disagree to a little bit, to the point of England is boring. They're definitely not as exciting as Argentina or France are, but they've played in a lot of good games in this World Cup. I mean, the Mexico game in Mexico City was fantastic. The Norway game was really good. The DR Congo game was good. So you're right. Harry Kane is not as electric as a Mbappe or a Haaland to that extent, but Jude Bellingham's been great. And what makes England exciting is they're kind of like the Bills. You just know it's a matter of time when they're going to choke, and it's just like you're waiting for that other shoe to drop. And that's what we got again tonight. And I just feel for them because they've had so many good teams. They get to spots like this. They should win. They're leading, and they just can't get through, and they're still searching for their first World Cup since '66. But obviously Messi is the biggest star in the world in sports. And the fact that, again, soccer is one of these sports where a lot of us casuals don't watch him very regularly, and this is the stage where we get to see him. The fact that we get a shot to see him go back-to-back, I think is pretty cool against the best team in the world in Spain. They were the pre-tournament favorite. They certainly looked like it against France. And France is one of those teams that really struggles tactically with Spain because Spain forces you to play without the ball. And France has all that top-end talent with Mbappe and Dembele and Olise, that those guys constantly need the ball. They want to create havoc. They want to create goals. And Argentina, as we've seen, Messi does so much, but what makes him so great is he doesn't need to really have the ball that much. He's walking around so much of the game, and then all of a sudden the ball just lands at his feet and he makes stuff happen. So I think that Argentina is actually a more difficult matchup for Spain. I just think Spain is the way better team. And again, Argentina, they've been playing with their food a little bit. They've been really fortunate to win all of these games coming from behind in these games that they probably should have lost at some point, one of these, but they found a way to win. And I compare it to that Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl from 2 years ago again, where it's like people are going to go into the final. They didn't want to bet against Mahomes as a dog. They're not going to want to bet against Messi as a dog, but the Eagles were just better, and they jumped out, and Kansas City eventually, they just couldn't catch up. I kind of think it could be the same with Spain. But, we'll see if Argentina can keep it going.
Jordan in the chat, Jordan Murray says, go ahead, put it on Argentina. Now caught Martinez live at plus 650 as soon as I saw that man sub in. So good on you for cashing a nice one. Again, Martinez, nice goal. Buddy of mine, Mraz.
Crazy move too. Just bringing them in there, going with guns a-blazing.
Absolutely.
It's you have to.
What do you have to lose? You allow a goal on the other side, you're down 2-0. What's the difference?
And that's probably when you could have used those midfielders. Hey, PJ? The midfielders at the top down. That's exactly when you could have used those guys to maybe maintain control and not allow such a counterattack every single time.
Yeah. again, people are texting me that like Zlatan and Thierry Henry are saying the same thing on the broadcast. Like Tuchel should be fired, like what he did. Again, I don't know soccer well enough, like tactically, to understand that when those guys subbed in, but it does make sense. Like it truly felt like he tried not to lose instead to play to win. And maybe it's just the Messi factor, the Argentina factor, but that's brutal, man. And that's where coaching comes into play in these big tournaments and these big international events. You got to ride with those guys that got you the 1-0 lead, and they were controlling the game. He makes those subs, and then in the 75th minute, it just flipped. Argentina started to get all the possession. They were creating all their chances, and man, every game they play is an instant classic. It's unbelievable.
So a couple things. A friend of mine, Sean Marash over at WFAN, he tweeted out, "Don't worry, England, this loss sucks. I get it. But in just 11 weeks, you get Colts Commanders." So get ready for that. Martinez in the chat says, Messi is not human. And I think that, again, I went on and on and on about all the GOAT stuff, and rightfully so. But I think just another piece of that very quickly, and we won't do football the entire hour. We will mix in some football and maybe some WNBA Open Championship looks, different things like that. Baseball gets back underway, albeit briefly tomorrow, just the one game, a makeup game. But, I think people looked last year, Messi, obviously, again, pushing 40. He comes to MLS, goes to Inter Miami, and a large part of that, most of that was financially driven, the deal with Apple TV and all of that. But it was still, okay, so what? Messi's going to come and dominate MLS? Like, great, ride off into the sunset, playing in the minors, so to speak. And he's been awesome, clearly. I mean, dude scores basically every single game, but people kind of looked at it and it was like, well, of course he is. He's playing against MLS competition. What's he going to look like when he's on the world stage once again? And that, to me, has been the thing, PJ, that's just been so crazy. This entire tournament from the very beginning, and he's still, tied for the Golden Boot race and has an opportunity to win the thing all by himself, because obviously the only guys that were right behind him were, Mbappe was even, he's out. Well, I guess he's not out. He's got the third place game, so he could still take it. But then, Holland was right behind. Obviously, Norway's done. But it doesn't matter who the competition is. He continues to deliver, to dominate, to look like himself, to look absolutely ageless, to look like, and we'll see, maybe if he wins, he makes some grand proclamation. Hey, I've won the last 2 World Cups. I'm done. This has been incredible. Thank you so much. But if they should lose against Spain, I don't think we get the immediate I'm not playing in 4 years, because I still think he could if he wants to.
At 44, I guess with Messi, you never say never. But yeah, it definitely feels like this is all setting up for him to potentially win another, ride off into the sunset. I think this is probably it. But again, the style at which he plays isn't as taxing as other players
most of the time.
Yeah, he really is. So I wouldn't hate it if he came back 4 years from now. I think it's unlikely, but it's crazy how, it's kind of like Rory with the Masters a little bit, right? We wondered if he would ever win it, and then he did, and then he went back to back, and now here we are with Messi, and he was in the GOAT conversation. We're like, he needs that World Cup, and then he got it, and now here we are, and he might win again. So, I think he's at this point got the GOAT conversation wrapped up, and if he wins another one, you can just forget about it.
You just forget about it at that point. Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, listen, we got a lot on the table here, and we got about, 35 minutes or so to go. V, it is Afternoon Betspresso. You are a regular on the program. Where would you like to go next?
Why don't we play a little bit of Smash or Pass, and then we can get into some news here. I got a couple of NBA teams and their new look rosters. So I want to get your thoughts on all of these squads, as well as, are you smashing or are you passing on the current iteration of this team? So let's get into it. All right, boys. So we got 5 teams. First one on the docket, we got the new look Miami Heat. Obviously, Giannis is the big star addition here. Additions like Bobby Portis, obviously, really probably going to adapt to Heat culture with the way he is on the court. And then Tim Hardaway, another shooter that they have brought in that really, I guess, had to convince his dad to let him use his retired number here down in South Beach. But boys, what do you guys think about this roster? Are you smashing or are you passing on this current iteration of the Heat as is right now before they potentially bring in any shooters?
PJ?
I'm going to pass. As much as I love me some Giannis, I think Bam is great too. I mean, who's the point guard? You know, that's my biggest issue. That backcourt would be a big question mark for me. So as good as Giannis is and Bam, Bobby Portis is a nice role player. Tim Hardaway's a good 3-and-D guy. I don't see any point guard there for Miami, and that's what plagued their team this past season. That's what usually has plagued a lot of these teams that have tried to get like these super teams going. Is it's great to acquire the star players until there's one basketball and you don't kind of have that floor general out on the floor navigating everything, setting up teammates. So Giannis has been the guy for a long time. He can definitely handle the ball at times, but I just think not having a true point guard for that roster would hurt Miami, so I'll pass.
Yeah, I'm passing as well. And obviously that is before we know the domino that is LeBron James and all of the rumors surrounding, could it be Miami? Could it be probably not Golden State, but Philadelphia, Cleveland? I think it's going to be the East for LeBron, whether he goes back to South Beach or, Northeast Ohio or whatever it winds up being. But even if LeBron is on Miami, you can even, you don't even need to Photoshop it. You can just go back, grab an old photo and sprinkle that thing in, put it with this crew. I'm passing, guys. I mean, yeah, I will think more highly of Miami if it does add LeBron James. I will elevate them in my mind to, a team that is, let's say LeBron lands there. I will view them comfortably as a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference. I think the East is pretty open. But independent of that, as the roster exists right now, that's the game we're playing. I think this team is borderline top 6, maybe a play-in team. I think, again, you got no depth, you got no bench, and you are very reliant on 2 guys. And it's Bam, who's good, and obviously Giannis, who is he going to be healthy? Even if he is, obviously he's one of the, top 10, maybe even top 5 players in the world still. We just haven't seen him fully healthy in a little bit, but I absolutely worry about the lingering calf issues and any other things that should happen to follow. God forbid an Achilles follows that calf. We've seen that trend in the NBA in recent years. I just don't like the collection. I don't like the makeup of this roster as it exists right now here in mid-July. So I will pass.
Yeah, I'm with you boys too. I'm passing on this roster. I think with lack of shooters, a lack of 3-point shooting on this team is really going to come to bite them in the ass, especially come postseason time. And like you said, PJ, no true point guard. Who is going to connect the dots between Bam and Giannis? And I think that's what worries me the most. There's got to be a connection there. And without that, I don't know what's going to happen here. And I can't even think of a guard or anybody available currently on the market, whether it's through trade or free agency, that could really come in here and fix that. Even if LeBron James does, I don't think you can expect him to be your de facto point guard and to do what you need a point guard to do. You know what I mean? He's supposed to be complimentary at this point in his career, not a pillar, I'd say. So, yeah, I'm passing, boys. I guess we're all on the same page. All right, next one. The new look Sixers. Lots and lots and lots of love for this roster across the league, boys. Obviously, we saw the win totals come out. Now we're seeing where these guys sit in terms of championship odds. Right there in line with the Celtics, the team they did complete the trade with. You got Jaylen Brown. You have added Dean Wade, and a premier 3-point shooter and defense, maybe a premier defensive player. You've got VJ Edgecombe in his second year and just lighting it up across the pond for some international FIBA play. He looks great. Tyrese Maxey. And if Joel Embiid is healthy, this is a roster with a ton of talent. Now, does that talent work together? I'll go first because obviously I'm going to be trying to keep it short and sweet and free of salt. But I think this is a roster that just there's not enough usage. There's not enough ball to go around. When you see a guy like Maxey and Embiid already dominate the usage, then you add in a guy like Jaylen Brown and a guy like VJ Edgecombe, who realistically should be seeing a higher amount of usage next year, not lower. I just don't understand the direction of this roster. If Joel's healthy, it's a usage issue. If he's not healthy, it's a center issue. I'm not in love with the roster construction, especially not as much as I think other people around the league are. BJ, what about you? What do you think before we let Adam go? I'm sure be a little bit salty.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I'll smash, but I don't love it. But again, it's just the quality of talent on that roster. V, you make a great point, and that's obviously the thing that they're going to have to figure out. And it's going to take time for that chemistry to develop. And what's not going to be ideal is that Embiid's probably going to miss time throughout the season. And you try to get him back in the fold, and then playoffs come. And that's really what's plagued the Sixers, as we know. It's not only he's not out there, but when he is, it just completely changes how they run offense from night to night. So now you add Jaylen Brown back into the mix when he's got to get his shots to already go along with Maxey and Embiid. And then VJ Edgecombe, who did a lot of good things as a rookie, now he's going to be asked to play that Tobias Harris, Kelly Oubre role. Is that going to be good for him? Like, is he going to like not having nearly as many shots as he was his rookie season? So they're going to have to be sacrificed on this team, and they're going to have to figure it out quickly. The Knicks are still the heavy favorite, and right now I still would like the Knicks to come out of the East, but I think there's a reason Boston is still favored over Philadelphia in the Eastern Conference. So I'll smash because I like the upside of this team, and there aren't many starting lineups better than what Philly can provide when they're healthy. But like UV, I certainly have my questions, and I think it's going to take time for that chemistry to develop.
It's going to annoy me a ton if we see Jaylen Brown all of a sudden become this premier passer and like this guy who's willing to take a back seat. That'll annoy me to no, I can't. Adam, please go. I can't even think about it.
So I think, and this goes back to the Miami thing too, I think that if we were to go through the exercise to have some fun, right? Like, you need to, in just a few words, offer a concern about any of these teams. For me, with Miami, I would simply say top heavy. With Philadelphia, I would give you a sentence. I would say there is only one basketball. That is a concern. When Embiid wants his, if he's healthy. When Maxey obviously wants his. We all know Jaylen Brown wants his. LeBron could wind up there. And does he want to be a fourth or fifth option on some nights? Maybe he's cool with that. He'll be load managed like you read about. But does he want to be that much of a backseat? I'm skeptical. And then obviously VJ Edgecombe, who is developing, and yeah, he'll play a role. He's not going to be out there greedy and disruptive or anything like that. Good young player, and the future is bright ahead of him. But man, he took, some real flashes we saw during his rookie year, and now all of a sudden he's going to wind up as the fifth dude on many nights when everybody, in these rare times for Philly historically that everybody is actually available. I worry about chemistry. I mean, the talent in terms of that starting five, and this is even without LeBron, undeniable, absolutely. But I worry about the cohesiveness around all of it. So I am going to pass. Is it a playoff team? Sure, of course it is. Is Jaylen Brown on a team that's going to be better than the team that he just left? I'm not so sure. I mean, Vegas would tell you no. The win totals for the Celtics, 51.5, and the Sixers at 48.5. The Celtics have better odds, obviously, by virtue of what I just mentioned, to win the conference, to win the championship, than that of the Sixers. And I think most people would look at these two rosters and say, really? That's weird. Seems like Philly, again, concerns around, can they stay healthy and can they jive? Like, can it work? And I am skeptical. I am skeptical that there's not going to be some infighting. And also, and I know Philadelphia, like I've been saying this about Philly for many years. This is not salty Boston fan after Philadelphia comes back from down 3-1 in round one. I have said this for a long time about Joel Embiid. I don't think he's a winner. I don't think he's a leader. I don't think he's a good teammate. And now he has to be the front man for this group. And I just think that is a recipe for disaster.
Knicks won a championship before Joel Embiid conference finals. So let's just, put everything in perspective. The guy has not been good. He doesn't win in the big games. And like he says, Boston always kicks our ass. I don't think that's going to change, but I also don't think it's a surprise. The two Celtics fans on the panel passed on this Sixers squad. But it's nice that you bring that up, Jordan, because the Wizards are next on this list. I know me and my fellow guys on the Sauce team are high on this roster. We've got Alexander Sarr, Anthony Davis, hopefully coming in healthy on day one. I do think Trae Young was promised that deal. If he did just sit last year and get healthy, he should be good to go on day one. The limited time we've seen Dibata in the summer league, he has looked fantastic. I don't know if you heard his comments, but he's like, I was kind of lazy in college, not playing defense, but I want to be a two-way star in the NBA. And that's exactly what you want to hear from the guy you drafted to be your franchise centerpiece for the next 10 probably years. And then lastly, the DeAndre Ayton move off of the bench. I don't know how much I love that or how much stake I'm putting into that, but this is a roster, to me, looks like it can compete. I do think they've got some other good guys not on this graphic, and Bilal Coulibaly, Trey Johnson, and even Angel Reese's brother, Juju Reese. He's an up-and-coming guy. He's been playing in the summer league, and he is a menace on the glass, PJ. I don't know if you've ever watched this kid, but he had a 20-rebound game last year in which he was filling in for this really beat-up Wizards roster. So, PJ, I'll go to you first. Are you smashing or are you passing on this new-look Wizards roster?
Oh, I'm smashing, man. And Jordan's saying it in the chat. He's a Virginia guy. I am too. The city is like the DMV is so excited for the Wizards team because – I mean, obviously, they're one of the worst franchises in the NBA. They've never had a 50-win season. They've never been to an Eastern Conference final. And we've never had a player like DeBanza, somebody who's that skilled at that size, like a Giannis, like a LeBron, like a Durant. All the best players we've had, have been like Gilbert Arenas, John Wall, like some of the guards have been the best for the Wizards. So to have somebody like this as the linchpin in our lineup is just exciting. And then you see the vision and the front court of what Anthony Davis and Sarr could be on the back end, how tough that could be on opposing teams, especially if you're in a playoff series and it's more half court and the game slows down to try to deal with the size and length of both of those guys. And then Trae Young. Look, I know there are varying opinions on Trae Young. A lot of people don't like him. He's not a very good defender. But he never had an all-star teammate in his time with Atlanta, and he still was able to carry them to an Eastern Conference final at one point when he was in his prime and when he was in his healthy. He's a great scorer, and they've done a good job at building the bench around those veteran pieces, with guys like Coulibaly, Juju Reese, you were talking about, Bub Carrington off the bench. So there's a lot of excitement for the Wizards. I think they can be a playoff team this season. I think an underrated part for them that not a lot of people are talking enough, though, is their head coach, Brian Keefe, who is not a proven guy in this league. He definitely feels like a stopgap, right? Like, how many times do we see it with these teams that aren't quite ready to, compete for a championship? Hang on to that coach that were with them through the dog years, and when they were doing all that losing, you give the guy a shot, see if he can win. I don't think he's going to like they want and like we want, so he's going to be out of there. But I think there's a lot to be excited about, kind of the mesh with the young players and the veterans. And again, health is going to be a big question when Trae Young and Anthony Davis are two of your better players. But I think they can be a playoff team in the East.
Before I let you go, Adam, I just got to say, PJ, I agree with the Trae Young take. I think that as a Trae Young hater myself, I thought defensively he was a liability. I think we've gone too far the opposite way now. He's still an elite passer. He can be a bucket getter when you need him to. And if you surround him with the kind of length the Wizards have at the guard spot and the wing spot, and on top of that, you have two literal twin towers in the paint, and then AJ Dybonsa just playing fucking floater all over the court, I do think this is exactly what you want. And in terms of Anthony Davis, he has spent a ton of time injured over the last couple of years, but a ton of those years he was playing the center spot. He has been begging management in Los Angeles to get him a center to play alongside, and I do think that's when he is not only better on the court, but his longevity stats go up. He's able to play more games. He's taking less strain on that end of the court, and I think that's going to be key for this Wizards team. And more than anything else, even at AD's age, there's a ton he could teach these young guys here in Washington if he does buy in. And this turns into like a 5-6 seed here. I'm excited.
You guys have seen Moneyball, right? Obviously. Yeah. So I'm watching Moneyball with my 13-year-old last night, and he had never seen it. And they're doing the montage of Brad Pitt, Billy Beane, reliving his, being a superstar, can't miss prospect, and the family has to face this ultimatum. Is he going to turn pro with the Mets for life-changing money, or is he going to go to Stanford? I don't know why, by the way. Just now, I don't even think I thought about this at the time when the movie came out. I don't know why he couldn't go to college and then still go play professional baseball. I don't know why it had to be one or the other. It would have just delayed it a little bit, but they certainly presented it as like, if you go to Stanford, you're never playing ball. This is the crossroads. Like, why? Anyway, they give him all that money and he flops. He's a complete and total bust. And he calls up, when he's trying to lure Peter Brand, Jonah Hill's character, who in real life, Paul DiPodesta, I think is they just didn't get the naming rights in the movie. But anyway, he calls him up. He's the big analytics head honcho and player evaluator. And he's like, would you have taken me in the first round? Would you? Would you have taken me in the first round? And he says, I would have taken you in the 9th round. No signing bonus. harsh realities, right? I say all of that to say Trae Young's contract is an embarrassment. He's a fine player, but his contract is absolutely obscene. I thought it was laughable when he opted out. Joke's on me, because there were the Wizards to go and give him a gigantic deal that I think is going to be in time untradeable, and they will live to regret here in this era of apron penalties that teams are actively looking to duck. Now, all of that said, yeah, I'll smash. I mean, this conversation is around expectation, guys. With the Heat, with the Sixers, expectation is this team a contender? How do we view this team in the scope of winning the East and competing for a championship? For the Wizards, as PJ noted, it's just, well, are they a playoff team? And I don't know if Washington is a playoff team, might be a play-in team. What I think Washington will be, though, if healthy, is really fun to watch. Trae Young can still be an entertaining player, even though he is a sieve defensively. Anthony Davis, if heaven, let's hope the dude is right again. It's been a little while, but if he can be healthy, we all know what a game changer he has the ability to be. I think they've got some good role players, whether it's Sarr, whether it's, Trey Johnson, whether it's Keyshawn George, there are different players. And then DeBonsa, I mean, I'm a little bit biased, only a little bit, in that he's from my area, like an hour away from me. But I say only a little bit biased because he was the number 1 overall pick in the draft. This is not me shouting out this guy's going to be good. Everyone believes he's going to be incredible, and they just shut him down, obviously, in Summer League because they had seen enough and don't want him to get hurt. But he was incredible. I think this rookie class in general is going to be fantastic, but DeBonsa is right there at the top of it, and that is a dude, I don't know if the Wizards are like League Pass category. I don't know if you're going to be wanting to watch him every night, but that's a dude I want to watch every night. I mean, he was must watch at BYU, and who wants to watch BYU? So I think this team, I'm smashing. I think this team is going to be fun to watch, and I think it's going to compete at the very least for a playoff spot.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's why I put them on this graphic. I figured a lot of people are underrating them going into next year. Maybe not so much now, but they've got the talent, and we'll see what happens next year, especially in the Eastern Conference. In the East, it's always wide open, right? All right, let's go to the next team.
Yeah.
PJ, do you want to add anything?
Well, I was just going to say,
Please.
the last 2 years in the East, we had Detroit as that 6th seed, kind of with that mix of veterans and young players. And then we had Atlanta this past year. I kind of see the Wizards being that.
I thought you were going to say Charlotte.
Pesky,
Charlotte was kind of the up-and-comer last year.
That pesky 6. They were, Atlanta, Charlotte. I kind of think the Wizards could be that. So that's
like
what
a
I'm
Portland type in the East.
Exactly.
That kind of thing. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next team. The Minnesota Timberwolves. Obviously, LaMelo was the big splash. But right after that, they did move on from Julius Randle. He's now playing for the Brooklyn Nets back in New York. But now this is a team that looks good defensively if you're looking at it from the bottom half here. Obviously, Ayo's been great since his arrival from the Bulls, and they gave him the contract to match, right? They wanted him here in Minnesota for the foreseeable future. They want him to be one of the pieces surrounding Anthony Edwards. Then they bring in LaMelo Ball. You got 2 of the top 3 picks from that 2019 to 2020 NBA draft. And honestly, I think this is going to be a team that works really well together. Before I talk about it, Adam, why don't you tell us, what are your thoughts on this? What do you think? How is it going to work? And do you think Chris Finch is the guy to make it work? Because his comments early have been, they're going to try to change LaMelo. They're going to try to make him a pass-first point guard, try to work on his shot selection. So what do you take away from that?
Yeah, I'm a pass here, and maybe I'm just a hater, a doubter, whatever. I'm not a LaMelo guy. I'm not. He's fun to watch. He's one of those league pass dudes. Obviously, he's flashy. He's entertaining. He's, the kids love him. Like, my kids wanted jerseys, for LaMelo. But he's fun. He's a fun dude to watch. And I don't. It's not like he was bad in Charlotte, but I don't think it was a coincidence that team really took off behind Knipple and Miller, obviously Kobe White, and you started to see less LaMelo. When you were starting to see less LaMelo in terms of the minutes and usage, that team got better and better. I don't think that is a fluke. And so I understand that Minnesota is impatient. And Ant is your guy. Ant is not the dude, obviously, that you're moving. At least you don't want to. You hope he's not, going to demand a trade at some point in time. Not that he's going to be a career Timberwolf, and that's not a knock on Minnesota. It's just in this era of free agency and trades and superstars moving around as they do, guys just don't play their careers with one team anymore. It basically doesn't happen. So he'll move on. He'll be somewhere else for some of those prime years, inevitably. But as I look at it right now, and look, Gobert, even though there's little offense to his game, he's an incredible defensive player. We know that. You've got some role pieces there. I'm going to miss Naz Reid. I mean, that's a nice return, obviously, in what kind of role he will play there for Charlotte. I think he's going to, just typical 6th man of the year kind of potential for Naz Reid. But in terms of this team, you see back-to-back trips to the Western Conference Finals before last year, and it's we can't get over the hump with Karl Anthony Towns. We got to move him. And now it's we can't get over the hump with Julius Randle. We got to move him. And they bring in LaMelo Ball, and I don't think LaMelo's the answer. I don't. It doesn't mean those two are going to be bad together. I don't think it's going to be enough, though, PJ. And so I am passing. I don't view Minnesota as a contender to win the West, what is already an incredibly deep, competitive conference to begin with, where everyone is chasing San Antonio, Oklahoma City, and Denver.
Yeah, I'm going to probably have to pass too. It feels like Minnesota is probably going to be where people expect them, if not maybe worse, because I think there's a chance that LaMelo flames out with the trade capital they gave up rather than he ends up being the missing piece that gets them over the top. We know what a good playoff team Minnesota's been the last 3 years. They made it to the Western Conference Final 2 of the last 3 years. They lost to the Spurs this past year. Edwards was banged up in that series, but they just got these wings that are always ready to step up. It was Jaden McDaniels, and now it's Ayo Dosunmu. Gobert's still a good defender, but it really just all does come down to LaMelo. I mean, he is the key. And again, Edwards, he hasn't had that consistent 20-point scorer next to him that can just also get his own shot, that can be a primary ball handler. So these moves and the way that Minnesota's tried to build their roster, as Adam was mentioning with Cat and Randall, these are big guys. So now they're trying to go out and they're trying to get Edwards another guard and a guy that can average 20 points a night in this league. I think that's going to be interesting to watch how that unfolds. But did that move make me like Minnesota to challenge San Antonio or challenge Oklahoma City? It didn't. I think if LeBron joins this team, this is the team I want LeBron to join from a basketball perspective. I think super fascinating, but I'm gonna have to pass. I don't have a strong take on the Wolves, but it really comes down to LaMelo, and I think there's a better chance it goes wrong than it does go right.
Yeah, I guess I'm in the minority here. I'm smashing on this team, but I am a big LaMelo guy. I'm on the complete opposite. I do think that he had a bigger role in Charlotte than maybe but again, I could be wrong. I thought he was fantastic in providing a connection for all of those pieces. You saw Con Knippel really thrive in his rookie season. You saw a guy like Brandon Miller play really well, and I do think that LaMelo was the key piece behind all of that. I think he's going to really elevate the play of a guy like Rudy Gobert, who has been a lob threat, but this Minnesota team has been missing a point guard for as far as I can remember. As long as they have been competitive, their point guard has been either a guy like Mike Conley, who is way, way past his prime, or a guy like Dante DiVincenzo. Neither guy is a great point guard or a guy that you can think could run an offense that's even a little bit more complicated than a regular offense. I do think LaMelo has that ability. I do think guys like Ayo and a guy like McDaniels might also benefit from that kind of play. And maybe these bench guys, the guys that are going to come in and, when they stagger their minutes, I think that's where he's going to thrive a little bit. In terms of what Chris Finch is going to do, I just hope he doesn't change LaMelo too much. Like I said, I'm a big LaMelo guy. I believe in his game. I think he's going to play at a high level, and so are the Timberwolves. I think he's also excited to be playing for more than just 20 wins on a season, right? Last year was the closest he's ever been. Now he's going to be, it's like a conference finals type of expectations for this team, regardless of what you think of this roster, just of how good they've been over the last few years. They've been to multiple conference finals already. Last year they didn't get there, but that's the goal for this team at the very least, I'd say, regardless of whatever this roster looks like. So I'll smash, but I don't think it's a top 3 seed in the West by any means, especially with how stacked the Western Conference is. We got one team left. This one will probably be a little bit fun, and I saved this team for last on purpose, Adam. So please give me your thoughts on the new look Boston Celtics. I need to know, what are you thinking of this roster construction, and what's your outlook for next season?
I'm hopeful. I think so. Here's how I view the Celtics. I'm a little shocked that the championship odds are what they are, that the Celtics are sitting only behind the Knicks in the Eastern Conference, at least last I looked. I can pull up the latest odds and see if that's changed at all. But, you know, you lose Jaylen Brown, who, fine, you want to decide that the Jays in tandem aren't the answer anymore, that Brown doesn't want to take a step back in the role after a career year and go back to the Batman and Robin thing, the 1A, 1B thing, living in Jason Tatum's shadow. I get it. Tatum, you hope, is fully healthy next year off of that injury. And I think there were encouraging signs in the final quarter of the year and the playoffs when he took part. But inevitably, maybe I'll be wrong about this, he's a generally durable player before the injury, but it feels like inevitably he's still going to be managed a little bit. He's still going to miss a little time. And obviously, if some random, Wednesday night in Phoenix, Peyton Pritchard or Derek White or maybe even Paul George can carry you, for sure. I mean, the Celtics overachieved last year. They were a 56-win team, but that was 3-11 against the best teams in the league. So it was kind of a fraudulent 56 wins, and Brad Stevens would be the first to admit that. He pointed it out, time after time in the end of the year press conference. You don't have that 1A, 1B anymore. You got a 1. You have a 1 in Jason Tatum. He's one of the best players in the league without a doubt. But after that, there is a drop-off. Now, Derek White does lots of things that help you win games, but he's going to need his shooting numbers to be a hell of a lot better than they were last year because, last year, even though he, again, plus player, impacted winning, all of these things, he could not hit, the ocean from the boat. He was shooting so poorly. Peyton Pritchard should continue to come off the bench, but you need an answer at point guard. Do they have that guy in-house that they're happy with? Mike Conley's a good depth addition, but you're looking for, 10 to 17 minutes a night, at most out of Mike Conley. You still have big man concerns, I think. Mitchell Robinson is an elite offensive rebounder. There's no scoring to his game whatsoever. So you're still going to have, even if he starts, some sort of a timeshare between him and Nimi Keita. Neither of those guys is giving you more than 20 minutes a night. And Robinson was managed like crazy by the Knicks last year. He might be again this year. So Paul George will, and again, I know that he wasn't the motivation behind the Brown trade, but he comes in with the Celtics believing that he can be a 3-and-D guy and thrive in the Joe Mazzulla system and this team. If you were tired of the Celtics shooting threes, just wait, because they may be setting NBA records for what they do this year with this roster. I just think there's going to be an element of variance still. Do I think the Celtics are still a 50-win team? Do I think they're still a playoff team? Absolutely. And by, association, are they a contender in the East? If we're as down on the East league-wide as most people are, then sure. But I still don't look at them as a championship contender. And I know that's a little bit semantic because if you get to the NBA Finals and there's only one team you got to beat on the other side, why wouldn't they have a chance? I didn't view the Knicks as a team that had any shot of beating San Antonio, and they waxed them for the most part. So what do I know? But I am a bit skeptical, certainly of the trade, but even as the roster exists right now, to not rehash that, I am skeptical that this team on paper is, one, done. I think there's still a move to be made. And two, is it still ready to compete with some of the top competition in the league? So I guess, if I have to label the whole smash or pass thing, I guess I'm passing because I don't think they're at the point that they want to be at.
Fair enough. PJ, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just real quick. I'm going to pass too. I think more than anything, the Brown trade, what it did obviously to Boston's roster was it took away the depth and it just gave them less room for air to withstand injuries throughout the season. They're such a great regular season team, and the beauty of having Tatum and Brown, if one guy's hurt, the other guy could step up and be that one, and Pritchard and White are in their roles that they thrive in, and Boston's just this regular season machine. Well, with Brown gone, obviously Tatum now, as you were talking about, has to be the one. They're expecting White he's got to really develop, and Pritchard has to develop too. They need a lot out of those guys, but there's going to be injuries, and that's just my concern when it comes to Boston is when they're hurt. What is that going to look like? We obviously saw it hurt them in Game 7 against Philadelphia when they matched up in the postseason. And like Adam was talking about, I mean, we know Boston, they like to jack their threes, man, and they're going to do that again this year. I just don't know if that is a sustainable formula for this team. We saw those Warriors teams with the Splash Brothers shoot plenty of threes, and you're talking about two of the greatest shooters ever leading the charge. Boston's got some good shooters, but I just think their philosophy with the way their roster is constructed is not a team that's going to win a championship as well. So I'm going to pass on Boston.
All right, guys, I'm going to just huff on some copium real quick while we have the platform. But I'm going to smash. I think this roster is still a roster that's going to compete. You replaced a guy like Jaylen Brown with Paul George. Obviously, you're not going to get the same production you got from Jaylen Brown, but what you do get is a 39% career three-point shooter, a guy who's not going to require more than 24% usage. You had Jason Tatum splitting usage rates with somebody who I don't think should have been a 1B. I think it should have been a 1-2 situation. But realistically, JB was almost leading the team in usage. We have seen what games look like when Tatum is high usage. Obviously, it's not as big of a sample size as some players, but this is a guy who regularly does not see over a 30% usage rate. To answer Takeover Embiid's question, I think he's going to average close to 29, 11, and 7 this season. We saw what his passing looked like both in that 2024 run and then again when he came back after the Achilles injury. He is great at finding his teammates in good spots. He can run the offense. He plays 1 through 5, and I think that this is the best front court that I can remember in almost the last 10 to 12 years for the Celtics. Now, everybody around them, I question, but it's really nice to have two guys that can block shots like Keita and Mitchell Robinson, two guys that can attack the offensive glass. When you look at the offensive glass numbers, not just being a stat nerd, both Mitchell Robinson and Keita were two of the best offensive rebounding bigs last season. They are going to generate extra possessions on those three-point shots and give up less extra possessions. Adam, over the last 3 seasons, how frustrated have we been with the Celtics giving up offensive rebounds and second chance points? It killed us against the Sixers last year. It's been a point that needs to be fixed. I think they went and did that this season. I also do think that Tatum, he got a guy like Luke Cornett paid heavily, running P&R with him in just limited minutes. I do think him playing with Keita, if you go look at Keita's numbers with Tatum on the court, the efficiency goes up, the points per minute go up, the P&R number efficiency goes up. He has been one of the best P&R ball handlers and the only guy in the top 15 of every single stat that's not a guard. I do think this is a Celtics team that's going to compete, but again, I'm coming in fresh off some copium all the time with the Celtics team. So I cannot tell you that I'm being unbiased, but I do think if Tatum plays exactly how I think he's going to, this is going to be a team that competes for a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference.
Dudes are only human, by the way, but it'd be cool if Mitchell Robinson stopped going back and forth with his old Knicks teammates talking about how he wishes he was still in New York on Instagram. I could do a little less of that.
Yeah, I could do a little less of that. He did also post Joe Mazzulla, though, on his story saying, yeah, that's my coach, after seeing those UFC workouts that he's been doing.
Well, you better say that. He could kick his ass.
But yeah, boys, we spent a ton of time on this. That's all the 5 teams that I've got. We do have a little bit of WNBA, and I know we got the championship with PJ too. So let's talk some sports before we call it here, and then maybe we can build a little parlay with what's
talk some sports. What have we been doing for an hour?
Well, I mean, talk some bets. There
you go. All right. Well, why don't we begin with the Open Championship? And PJ, I would love to hear your breakdown. If you are backing Scotty in the wake of him missing the cut, obviously, at the Genesis, who your favorite outrights are, any first-round leader plays, just hit me with all of it.
All right, yes, 3 outrights I bet this week. Scheffler is one of them, Wyndham Clark and Victor Hovland. Scheffler is just a price play for me. He's 8-1, and I just think that's ballooned way too much. I think there is recency bias because of the missed cut. He won the Open last year. He proved that he can play well on links golf courses. And the metrics are still there. It's not quite Scotty-like, but it's still better than all the other guys in the field. So I think Scotty's going to be there. Wyndham's one of the hottest golfers on the planet right now. He obviously won at the U.S. Open. But, you know, the Open Championship, you got to be able to scramble. You got to be able to chip. You got to be able to putt. You got to be able to be accurate. And Wyndham's been all those things, man. And a lot of times the toughest part about winning a major is just being able to do it. Not a lot of guys have that mental component to be able to do it. And Wyndham's obviously shown that he had. So I like him this week. And then Victor Hovland, he hasn't gotten a major yet. I've always felt like the Open Championship is the best opportunity for him to do it, because the knock on Victor's game is that he's not a great chipper of the golf ball around the greens. But the beauty of links golf is that you can Texas wedge, right? You can get those 80-foot putts off the green, and Victor's been good at that. He's played in 5 Opens. He's finished in the top 15 in 3 of them. He had the win at the Travelers about 3 weeks ago. And when Victor's right, man, he's dialed in with his irons, and he certainly has been that. So I think Victor Hovland is a good option. And then I took Fitzpatrick, Morikawa in the top 20 market. Morikawa's ball striking's been great, and his putter's been super hot. And if Morikawa's putter is rolling, then he's got a chance to win any tournament he tees it up. And then I also like Matt Fitzpatrick because he's got the best short game on tour right now, and he's been playing very good golf. So those guys are popular. I didn't take them to win because it scared me how much people like them, but I did take them in the top 20. Then if you want a long shot first-round leader tomorrow, Hao Tong Lee is always great in majors. In like the first round and the second round, he is your quintessential golfer that'll always be on the first page of the leaderboard at a major on Thursday and Friday, and then just falls off over the weekend. So Hao Tong, you can get him at some pretty good odds. I like him as a little stab tomorrow for a first-round leader.
I only have one outright right now, and it is Matt Fitzpatrick. That is the only guy that I have invested in.
You and about 95% of people.
Oh, he's super chalky.
It is insane how many people like him. Yeah.
So I will tell you, because I read through a bunch of articles, and I was making note of, just looking for consistency. How many times is this same guy coming up across multiple articles in the outright space? And by far, and I'm talking about, like, let's say I read, 15 articles. These dudes each came up, 8 to 12 times. Fitzpatrick, Morikawa, Fleetwood, Hatton, Goddard, McIlroy, Scheffler, Hovland. So 2 of the guys that you mentioned, and just, again, a lot of consistency across the space. In terms of who people are investing in this week. And that's outrights, top 10s, it's Scotty, it's Fitzpatrick, top 5s, it's Morikawa, it's Scotty, top 20s, it's Morikawa, it's Hatton, it's Fitzpatrick, it's Bobby McIntyre, Fleetwood. It's all the same guys across every article, everybody in the space that I was reading. So yeah, I jumped aboard the chalk because honestly, it's still a nice number, especially when you boost it.
Sure. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, why not, right? Sometimes it's fun to cash with the entire public when everybody does, right? Like sometimes you get to stick it to the books.
Yep. Yeah. That's exactly right.
Now, what about first round leader market? You have anything there?
Yeah, I like Hao Tong Lee tomorrow. He would be the guy that I would look at. Brian Harmon would be another guy that you might want to consider, Open champion from a couple years ago. I could see him having a pretty decent week. So those were only the 2 stabs that I took, were Lee and Brian Harmon. I also like Hao Tong in his 3-ball tomorrow. And then if you can find it, I like Wyndham Clark against Ludwig in a head-to-head matchup for the tournament. It's about Wyndham Clark's like minus 112. So I don't think Ludwig's going to have all that great of a week. And I do like Wyndham, so I thought that was a nice price.
Multiple people have brought up Reed to me for first round leader market.
Yeah, Reed is a good look too. Again, great short game. Another guy that, because he's on live, you do wonder, like, almost, is he going to be able to play like 3 rounds the weekend? Because that was the key at the Masters. I mean, he was great Thursday, Friday, fell off over the weekend. So Patty Reed's another guy that I think that's a good look if you want to play like a first round 3-ball or even first round leader.
And yes, take over and Embiid. I did boost Fitzpatrick.
There you go.
Of course he did.
Of course I did.
Come
but
on.
I need to boost my first round leader.
What do you got in the W tonight?
Not too much, just one game. Obviously, we had 2 games tip off earlier today with those camp games, but I got 2 plays for you, and they're both on the side of the Valkyrie. I'll kick it off with the player prop, Veronica Burton, over 20.5 PRA. Gabby Williams is slated as questionable tonight. Not sure if she's going to play yet or not. Still looking for news, but if she doesn't, Veronica's hit this line in 9 over 10 games without Gabby going back to last season. She's only played one game this year without her, but she had 17.6 assists in that game. And I do think that this is a game that the Valkyrie win. They have won 5 straight games. Obviously, the Fever have been good, but an interesting stat to me is the Fever with Caitlin Clark this season, 10-9. Without Caitlin Clark, 4-0. Now, obviously, teams and everything like that, small sample size, but it's really tough when your best player is in and out of the lineup just because of a minutes restriction. Everything becomes that much harder to coach, that much harder to play, and your game plan changes that much more. You're also looking at a Fever team that is coming back home after a long road trip out west. They just had 4 games in Vegas, LA, Phoenix, and then 1 more in Vegas before coming home for this game. Last game on Wednesday did get the 2 days of rest, but Golden State here is on quite the run. They have been they could go 5-0 on this road trip here out east, finishing it off with a win tonight in Indiana before heading home. And they've been off since Friday, so they're well rested despite being on this extended road trip. And I just think the line here is kind of telling us the same. We're getting +1.5 or +105 on that money line. I do think that with how close this is with Caitlin Clark in the lineup, the Valkyrie are likely to get a win here and finish this road trip with another win. And I do think that they've just been really good, 17-7 this year, and they've been good on the road too, 7-4 on the road. The team is just firing on all cylinders. Veronica Burton's been great. Gabby Williams has been great. Salawan has been fantastic from the perimeter too. I just think that this is a team that last year overperformed expectations once they became a new franchise, and this year have just built on that and now are quickly becoming one of the better teams in the dub. So give me them on the money line and give me Veronica Burton over 20.5 PRA.
Beautiful. I guess we can't really do a parlay, huh? I mean, it's all we got.
It's one WNBA game, really, to be honest. Like we
just be an SGP at that point. Like,
we'll just be an SGP.
I don't think we need to do that.
I think you don't have enough games. Don't even have enough games. If you want something, take Wyndham Clark and parlay him with Valkyrie money line. Once the Valkyrie win tonight, we can sweat Wyndham all weekend long.
There you go. Yeah, have one of those fun ones.
Right? If anybody's curious, and I'm just looking at one book right now, so obviously always shop these things around, but Spain-Argentina odds to lift the cup. Spain is right around -150, Argentina +135. That is, of course, to lift the cup. But if you wanted the regulation money line plays, you're looking at Spain +130, Argentina +270, and the draw to get you to extra time at almost 2-1. Again, that's one book.
Okay. I mean, we got to take Messi to score, right? I know it's going to be tough against this front seven, but I mean, 9th goal for the Golden Boot. I mean, he's going to get a penalty, right? Like we all know he's going to get a penalty.
Anytime goal, including extra time. So even better, obviously, in regulation.
I'm just saying, like back-to-back games without a goal now, right? You said, Adam? Yeah. I think that was so.
Back-to-back.
Yep.
9 goals for the Golden Boot. You know, Gianni will come down to the field himself and give him a penalty if he has to. Like that's how that's gonna work.
You know, V, if you really wanted to get saucy with a parlay, you got the WNBA, but you also have NBA Summer League.
I was gonna say, I just don't feel comfortable betting the Summer League without Suk here. He's especially with all the changes.
I bet the Pelicans just as we were like halfway through our show. And they're up in the second quarter.
Yeah. Yeah, the Celtics are playing in Summer League today. I honestly don't even know who's active.
No, I have no idea. It's giving money away.
Yeah. Chad, if you want some Summer League plays, go check in with Sook. He's definitely got a ton, and you've still got some time before they all tip off. So go abuse that guy.
All right, fellas, this is a quick hour. A lot of football, but a lot of fun. I'm going to be sad. I mean, I'm going to be sad in the group chat too, but I'm going to be sad when soccer's done. And we've been doing this for more than 100 matches, guys.
Oh, it's been
literally almost 100 matches, man. We were going. People were going to sleep for those late night matches, and now you're sitting here like, how could I go to sleep? How could I? I know you didn't, Adam.
No way. Give me Haiti at midnight.
Man, yeah.
All right, boys. We appreciate everybody in the chat. Obviously, BNN content done for the day, but back at you tomorrow as per usual on Thursday. I'll be with you on this program again with the crew, so looking forward to that. But PJ, till the next time, obviously, we want to thank Biz behind the scenes and McNeese behind the scenes. We had a little bit of both of them during this show, and all of you out there in the chat for playing along, watching along, giving us your thoughts, and Smash or Pass. Always a hit. So, fellas, on to the next time. Thank you all for watching, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you're finding us. We'll do it again real soon here across the BNN.
What you know about rolling down in the